It was the 12th year since I was adopted by the Hua family. The real daughter returned. Learning that she had suffered terribly all these years, my parents gradually grew resentful towards me. They planned to make me move out of the Hua family, but my brother stopped them in time. 4 years later, Hua Xiao chose to marry me. Little did I know, he did this only to torment me. Tanner has suffered for so many years. Hua Yingyue, you must atone with the rest of your life. In the 3rd year of our marriage, we had a fierce argument. In a fit of pique, Hua Xiao left me on the highway, leading to my death in a multi-car pile-up. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in an orphanage. I saw that young couple once more. I stood rooted to the spot, until a little girl next to me covered her nose in disgust and exclaimed loudly, "Director, Lin Yingyue peed her pants. How disgusting." Yes, I peed my pants, along with a puddle of wetness that oozed from my pant leg. The surrounding children all gathered to watch the fun, giggling with their hands over their mouths. The exclamation soon attracted the attention of the director and the well-dressed young couple. The dorm supervisor ran over, frowning at me. "Lin Yingyue, what's going on?" I bowed my head and said nothing. The other person could only hastily take me to the dormitory to change my clothes. After changing my clothes, I weakly said, "Auntie Lee, my stomach isn't feeling well. Can I not go down?" The dorm supervisor furrowed her brows. "That man earlier is the heir of the Hua group. He might choose one of you to be his daughter today. Everyone has to be there. Be good, come down with me." Back in the hall, all the children were already lined up. Mr. and Mrs. Hua Chun, accompanied by the director, looked over the children of varying heights. And walking beside the couple, the little boy in a black shirt with defiant eyes, was Hua Xiao. "Little friend, what happened to your hand?" Mrs. Hua, who was my mother in my previous life, stopped in front of me just as she did before. I pulled my sleeve away, nosebleed flowing down my nose. I had intentionally bumped it on the handrail when going downstairs just now. "Why are you having a nosebleed?" the other party asked concernedly. I shook my head. "I don't know, I just get them often." The girl from before eagerly told the other person, "Auntie, she's the one who peed on herself just now." Mrs. Hua looked at me with a touch of regret upon hearing the words. Hua Xiao stood right beside her. His gaze briefly swept over me, then casually moved away. He was only 8 years old this year, yet his features were already clear and well-defined. An air of noble aloofness emanated from him. It was as if he and us dusty little children weren't even on the same layer. In the end, the Hua family chose another girl roughly my age. Her name was Xinxing. It was evident she was very happy and excited, mixed with a hint of apprehension. Her gaze was firmly fixed on the group of family members who had descended before her. Her beautiful and elegant mother, her extraordinary father, and her aloof yet handsome elder brother. The little girl's eyes were filled with longing for the future, just like me in my previous life. In my previous life, the little girl adopted by the Hua family was me. At that time, it had been just over a year since the Hua family's true heiress, Hua Xintan, went missing. Mrs. Hua, sick with worry for her daughter, cried day and night. The Hua family consulted a master, who divined that Hua Xintan was still alive. The master advised Mrs. Hua not to grieve excessively, as it could lead to vital energy attacking her heart and a buildup of sorrow in her chest. Furthermore, crying constantly would cause significant damage to her eyes. If they could adopt a little girl and treat her well, it might bring blessings to the true Hua family heiress. The Hua family heeded the advice and immediately went to the orphanage to adopt a little girl around the same age as their own daughter, which was me. They then raised her as if she were a precious jewel. Perhaps the blessings truly did arrive. They just arrived a little late. It wasn't until the 12th year after I was adopted by the Hua family, the year I turned 18, that Hua Xintan finally returned. It's easy to imagine how happy the entire Hua family was. Mrs. Hua held her biological daughter, lost and now found, and wept uncontrollably with joy. However, when they learned that Hua Xintan had dropped out of school at 14, was deceived both physically and emotionally at 15, gave birth at 16, and had a kidney removed at 17 while working away from home, Mrs. Hua was stunned. Immediately after, the entire Hua family plunged into deep sorrow. They never imagined that the soft and sweet little princess, who had been showered with love by the entire family 13 years ago, would turn into such a broken and incomplete shell. And to think, her life had only just begun. Then their gaze turned to me, their adopted daughter. Even though I was roughly the same age as Huashintan, I was so healthy, lively, radiant, and generous. Thanks to the Hua family's affluent background, I could play the piano, dance, fence, and skate effortlessly. I spoke 4 languages and had excellent grades. As soon as senior year ended, I would be heading to Brown University in the UK for my studies. All of this deeply pained my adoptive parents. While their biological daughter suffered hardships and torment outside, their adopted daughter was thriving at home, enjoying all the best resources. After some thought, Mrs. Hua came to me and directly stated that they would no longer support my overseas studies. Not only that, but they also hoped I would move out of the Hua family home as soon as possible. Because of my presence, Huashintan hadn't been very happy these past few days since she returned home. Although I was deeply reluctant to leave my family, I still agreed to my mother's words. Huashintan's suffering wasn't caused by me, but when I faced her, I couldn't help but feel guilty. Because I truly came to the Hua family because of her. And it was because of her that I had 12 years of carefree life. Now, the Hua family's true eldest daughter had returned. In any case, I had no reason to stay here any longer. However, in the 3rd month after I moved out of the Hua family home, Hua Xiao, who was studying in the UK at the time, rushed back to China and, with a very firm attitude, took me back. He then strongly persuaded my adopted parents to let me continue to stay with the Hua family. Seeing his son's insistence, Mr. Hua could only give in the end and agreed to let me stay. I didn't understand why Hua Xiao would do this. I thought he was simply mindful of the bond we shared from growing up together, and therefore couldn't bear to see me abandoned by the Hua family, even though I repeatedly stated that I wanted to move out myself. And it wasn't at my parents' behest. But Hua Xiao simply wouldn't agree to my leaving. Ultimately, due to his strong opposition, I continued to stay with the Hua family. At that time, I hadn't yet realized that such a decision would lead to a tragic end for our relationship. After the Hua family left the orphanage, I breathed a sigh of relief. In this life, I no longer wanted any involvement with their family. Thinking about it carefully, there was nothing wrong with staying at the orphanage. Although my body was only 6 years old, my mind was that of a 25-year-old adult. I knew the basic ways to survive. This could largely prevent me from being bullied by others. Moreover, in my previous life, my academic performance was excellent. Studying, for me, was not difficult. Once I entered junior and senior high school, I could tutor, do odd jobs, and so on. Earning money to support myself, graduating from university would definitely not be an issue. With this thought, I wasn't too worried about the future anymore. And I was prepared to live in the orphanage for the long term. I just didn't expect that half a month later, 3 uninvited guests would arrive at the orphanage. Early Saturday morning, the dorm supervisor urgently summoned all the children to gather in the common room. In such a situation, it usually meant that an adopting family was coming. Sure enough, not long after, Mother Director accompanied a young couple into the common room. A group of small children stood ramrod straight. Everyone looked with expectant eyes at the very attractive couple by the door. Everyone hoped to be the next lucky one after Shenxing. Only I, after seeing the faces of the young couple, was slightly surprised. How could they be here? Could it be that? The next instant, I saw a familiar face. Yi Yuan. My mind wandered a bit. I involuntarily recalled some things from my previous life. Not long after I was adopted by the Hua family, one time when I went out, a few boys in the neighborhood saw me. Learning that I was Hua Zhao's new younger sister, they all found it very fresh. Then they swarmed over, each asking me if I wanted to be their sister. Ji Qiyuan was one of them. Naturally, I ignored them. That group of boys was very regretful, especially Ji Qiyuan, whose disappointment was evident. I heard that after he went home, he immediately pestered his parents, insisting on having a sister too. His parents, unable to bear his pestering, had no choice but to go to the orphanage where I used to be, trying to adopt a sister for Ji Qiyuan as well. But for some reason, it didn't succeed in the end. Thinking of this, I understood what was going on. In this life, Ji Qiyuan probably saw Shenxing in the neighborhood. So he pestered his parents again, coming here to adopt a sister for him. Recalling that this adoption by the Ji family was unsuccessful. So I quietly stood in the furthest corner. I never expected. I saw Ji Qiyuan from when he was little again. In my previous life, I wasn't particularly close to him. But because we lived in the same villa area, and Ji Qiyuan was classmates with Huashao, so he and I were barely acquaintances. One thing that left a deep impression on me was when I was in my final year of high school, and Huaxintan was brought back to the Hu family. Originally, the Hu family planned to send me to study abroad in the UK after I graduated from high school. Huaxintan's return changed that decision. Naturally, I was also self-aware and decided to apply to a university in a city. Unexpectedly, Ji Qiyuan, who was also studying at a university in the UK with Huashao at that time, after learning about my situation, specifically called me to say that he could pay for my study abroad expenses. I was a bit baffled. After all, I wasn't particularly close to him, and studying abroad was a considerable expense. How could I dare to easily owe favors to others again? So I resolutely refused him. Unexpectedly, a few days later, he actually flew back to the country and tried to persuade me again. I still didn't agree, but I sincerely thanked him. So, in my impression, Ji Qiyuan was one of the few warm-hearted people among that group of rich kids. Just as my thoughts were a whirlwind, a childish voice filled my ears. "Oh, what's your name?" I looked up, staring blankly at the little boy in front of me, with sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, who wasn't much taller than me. After a long while, "Lin Yue," I replied. Ji Qiyuan's lips curved, and he beamed a smile at me. Then, as if he had discovered a treasure, he joyfully shouted to Mrs. Ji behind him, "Mom, I want this little sister." The subsequent development was somewhat unexpected. I was adopted by the Ji family. When the car drove into this familiar villa complex, I was still completely dazed. Strange. In my previous life, the Ji family did go to the orphanage, but in the end the adoption wasn't successful. Ji Qiyue didn't have any sisters either. Why was there a deviation this time? Could it be that because I changed the plot, the lives of others also underwent some corresponding changes? Could that be it? How about this room? It has a balcony and you can see the lake. If you don't like it, you can check out my room. It's a bit bigger than this one. Also has a balcony. If you like it, it's yours. Ji Qiyue was very enthusiastic. So enthusiastic that I was overwhelmed. How much did this guy want a sister? Of course, I wouldn't dare to occupy his room, so I quickly said this room was perfect. Are you hungry then? Shall I take you out to eat? There's a night market over there with lots of good food. I shook my head. Ji Qiyue didn't give up. His bright black eyes darted around. Do you want to play games? Or puzzles? I can teach you. I never expected. Young Ji Qiyue was actually a chatterbox. It was hard to decline such hospitality. Just as I was wondering if I should agree to him. Xiaoye, let Yeye rest properly. She has to adapt to a new environment at her new school tomorrow. Mrs. Ji walked over, interrupting him at the right time. Ji Qiyue was reluctant to leave, looking back every few steps. When he reached the door, he remembered something and instructed me. Then you rest well. I'll come wake you up tomorrow morning. After Ji Qiyue left, Mrs. Ji led me to the wardrobe, telling me where the towels and pajamas were. Perhaps afraid that I still couldn't read. She then took me to the bathroom, showing me which was the body wash and which was the shampoo. Yeye, from now on, treat this place as your home. Treat Ji Qiyue as your brother, and treat Mr. Ji and me as your parents, okay? Of course, if you don't like calling us mom and dad, you can also call us Uncle Ji and Aunt Ji. It's perfectly fine. Perhaps it was because my mental age was already 25. I really couldn't bring myself to call this woman, who wasn't much older than me, Mom. For a moment, I didn't know how to speak. Mrs. Ji didn't mind. Instead, she squatted down, touched my cheek and smiled. It's okay if you can't say it yet. How about we go take a bath now, then go to bed early? And tomorrow we can go check out your new school, okay? At that moment, she didn't seem like a mother. Instead, she was like a gentle, loving older sister, miraculously soothing the subtle uneasiness deep within me. The next day, Mrs. G took me to register at the new school. This was also my alma mater in my previous life. On the first day of school, I met Xinxing in the hallway. We were both in first grade, and her classroom was next to mine. Seeing me, Xinxing was very surprised. Lin Yingyue, it's really you. What are you doing here? I could only tell her that I had been adopted by the Ji family and now lived in number 1 mansion. Xinxing was very happy. Really? That's great. Does this mean we can play together from now on? Hearing this, I instinctively fell silent, not answering her immediately. After all, the current me really didn't want to have any involvement with anyone from the Hua family. Just then, Xinxing seemed to see something, waving excitedly and calling out loudly, "Brother!" I turned my head, and then I saw Hua Xiao. Hua Xiao, only 8 years old. Xinxing excitedly took a few steps forward, pulling on Hua Xiao's sleeve, overjoyed. "Oh, by the way, Lin Yingyue, I've changed my name. I'm called Hua Xing now. This is my brother, Hua Xiao. You two should get to know each other." Hua Xiao looked at me, giving an almost imperceptible nod. This was in stark contrast to Xinxing's warmth. His personality seemed to have always been like this. He treated people he wasn't very familiar with in a cold, indifferent, and distant manner. In my previous life, when I was first adopted by the Hua family, he almost never spoke to me first. I once thought he hated me. It wasn't until much later, with time, that we slowly became familiar with each other. "Brother, she's my friend from the orphanage, Lin Yingyue. Oh, by the way, Lin Yingyue, have you changed your name yet?" "Change my name?" I paused, then shook my head. "Not yet. In my previous life, after being adopted by the Hua family, I did change my name to Hua Yingyue. That name stayed with me until I was 18, until Hua Xintan returned to the Hua family. Upon hearing my name was Hua Yingyue, and hearing me call Mr. and Mrs. Hua mom and dad, Hua Xintan flew into a rage, calling me shameless and disgraceful, accusing me of stealing her mom, dad, and brother. Soon after, Mrs. Hua found me and asked me to just call her auntie. I immediately understood what she meant. From then on, I started calling Mrs. Hua auntie and Mr. Hua uncle. I even stopped calling Hua Xiao brother. The Hua family also quickly helped me change back to my original name, Lin Yingyue. After this series of actions, Hua Xintan finally settled down quite a bit. "Lin Yingyue, what's the surname of the family who adopted you? Maybe my brother knows them. Can I come to your house to play then?" Xinxing. "Oh no." Hua Xing was still chattering away. Frankly speaking, I wanted to leave. This girl was also very boisterous. She hadn't realized that Hua Xiao and I actually didn't want to socialize with each other at all. "Are we that familiar? Why should I let you come to my house to play?" A slightly cold child's voice interjected. I looked in the direction of the sound. It was Ji Qiye. Hua Xing looked a little bewildered to suddenly see someone next to me. "This is?" she instinctively asked. I paused, then replied, "My brother, Ji Qiye." Hua Xing's eyes widened instantly, staring straight at him. "What are you doing here?" Ji Qiye was asking me. "Nothing much," I whispered. "Don't just chat with strangers, you're not close. Let's go, I'll take you back to the classroom." Hua Xing was still a little girl, and her face looked a bit embarrassed. Hua Xiao glanced at Ji Qiye, not saying a word the entire time. "Back in the classroom. Is anyone in class bullying you? If so, tell me," Ji Qiye said to me seriously. It was clearly a childish face, but the words spoken were surprisingly mature. I couldn't help but smile. Although my body was that of a 6-year-old child, my core, however, was a 25-year-old adult. Looking at the entire elementary school department, there probably weren't many who could bully me. Nevertheless, I still obediently agreed to Ji Qiye's. Okay, that's how I was adopted by the Ji family. Mrs. Ji didn't suggest changing my name instead. She told me, "Lin Yingyue sounds even better than Ji Yingyue, no need to change it." Perhaps sensing my hesitation and timidity, she even proactively asked me to call her Auntie Ji and Ji Chai's father Uncle Ji. In truth, I knew that a large part of the reason the Ji family adopted me was to fulfill Ji Chai's wish for another sister. Sometimes I found it quite incredible that parents would spoil a child to this extent, adopting a daughter from an orphanage just to give their son a playmate. Indeed, the children of wealthier families never lacked love. I no longer pondered why the G family's choice in this life differed from the previous one. Instead, I attributed it to the butterfly effect. I didn't want to be adopted by the Hua family, but the Hua family was definitely going to adopt a little girl. As I expected, if they didn't adopt me, they would adopt another girl. In the previous life, Hua Xintan's fate was practically sealed. As for this life, not long after I was adopted by the Ji family, a major event occurred at number 1 mansion. The Hua family's little girl, who had been abducted by the nanny and missing for nearly a year, was found. That's right. Hua Xintan was back. The entire neighborhood was abuzz. The Hua family, naturally, was ecstatic. I heard that Mrs. Hua not only donated a large sum of money to the fortune teller from before, but also planned to host a 3-day party at their villa to celebrate. Auntie Ji also received an invitation to the party. Living in the same villa complex, when such a happy event happened to a neighbor, it was only right and proper to go and congratulate them. Auntie Ji asked if Ji Qies and I wanted to go. Recalling my previous life, my relationship with Hua Xintan wasn't great. Ever since I married Hua Xiao, she practically treated me as an enemy. As for her, the initial guilt and unease I felt had long since vanished, leaving only indifference. Of course, I couldn't possibly go, so I shook my head decisively. Ji Qiyue was equally uninterested. What's there to go for? I'd rather stay home and play chess with Yeye. However, our two families lived so close. Even if I wanted to hide, it would be impossible. A week later, I saw Hua Xintan at school. Hua Xintan, only 6 years old. She was wearing a dark blue school uniform, walking with Hua Xiao. Perhaps due to being trafficked to the countryside for a year, she looked a bit dark and somewhat thin. She was about the same height as me. Her features closely resembled Mrs. Hua's. With a full forehead, deep-set eyes, and a pair of dark and bright eyes. She was indeed a pretty little girl. Her shoelace was probably loose. Hua Xintan looked down, then pouted, looking coquettishly at her brother beside her. Hua Xiao, who was always aloof, untamed, and used to keeping people at arm's length. Seeing this, he immediately squatted down without hesitation and tied his sister's shoelace. Then he stood up and affectionately patted her little head. Such a gentle and approachable Hua Xiao was truly rare, and only someone like me, who grew up with him, would understand how precious it was. It was probably only when facing his own sister that Hua Xiao would display such a tender and kind side. Their sibling bond had always been very strong. In my previous life, Hua Xintan returned home at 18. Learning that his sister had dropped out of school at 14, had a child at 16, and had a kidney removed at 17. The pain in Hua Xiao's eyes almost consumed him entirely. He couldn't accept that his sister's life had turned out this way. He couldn't accept that I, the one adopted by the Hua family, was instead living a healthy, glamorous life. To get revenge on me, he even went so far as to marry me. His goal was achieved. The 3 years I was married to him were the most painful 3 years of my life. He started by giving me the silent treatment and ignoring me. Gradually, it escalated to tormenting and humiliating me. He would grab my neck and yell hysterically. Why wasn't it me who was trafficked to the countryside? Why wasn't it me who had a kidney removed? Why was I occupying his sister Hua Xintan's life? That marriage ended abruptly with my death. The moment I was hit by the truck and sent flying, I clearly felt no pain. Instead, it was an unprecedented sense of relief. How wonderful! I'm finally even with the Hua family square. If there's a next life, I absolutely don't want to be adopted by the Hua family again. Maybe it's true, as the saying goes. The person you least want to see is the one who appears before you. Hua Xintan actually transferred into my class. This was something I hadn't anticipated. Perhaps there truly is a karmic entanglement between her and me. Thankfully, there are over 40 students in one class. If I didn't want to interact with her, we basically wouldn't have much to say to each other. Treating her like a stranger until elementary school graduation would be perfectly fine. But this fantasy of mine was soon shattered. It all started during a class break. When I went to the restroom, I unintentionally heard urgent cries for help coming from the innermost stall. Walking closer, I noticed that the door had been latched from the outside with a wooden stick. After removing the stick, I found that the person trapped inside was Huaxing. Huaxing, who locked you in here? The other party's eyes darted away, and she shook her head like a rattle drum. No, nobody. Afterward, this situation happened 2 or 3 more times. I asked Huaxing, but she remained tight-lipped every time. Until one day, at 8:30 p.m., I was walking home from the supermarket at the community entrance and ran into Huaxing, thinly dressed, crouching alone by a flower bed in the green belt, softly sobbing. It was at this moment that I finally confirmed who was often bullying her. Did Huaxintan kick you out? Seeing me, Huaxing quickly stood up and wiped away her tears. She seemed to still want to deny it. No, she didn't. Then why are you crouching here alone, not going home? Huaxing stammered, clearly unable to find an excuse to brush me off. It started drizzling, and she was wearing very thin clothes. I hesitated for a moment, then took out my watch phone. Jiqiye, can I bring a classmate over to our house? There was a pause on the other end. Where are you? 5 minutes later, Jiqiye came out with an umbrella to pick me up. Huaxing timidly followed us to the Ji family home. Learning she hadn't eaten dinner yet, Jiqiye asked Aunt Zhang to make her a bowl of noodles. Did Huaxintan kick you out? I asked Huaxing again. This time, she didn't deny it, quietly lowering her head. Only when I got closer did I notice the pinch marks on her wrist. Did you two fight? Huaxing subconsciously covered it with her cuff, then shook her head. Ji Qingyue, who was beside her, snorted softly. How dare she hit that little devil? It was more like she was unilaterally beaten. Little devil? Who are you calling a little devil? Who else could it be? Of course, it's Huaxintan. Ji Qingyue said that Huaxintan used to be notoriously naughty and was well known throughout the neighborhood. So everyone gave her a nickname, the little devil. Seeing that I didn't believe him, Ji Qingyue then showed me a faint scar on his forehead. He said that the winter before last, he and a few classmates from the neighborhood were having a snowball fight. A snowball accidentally hit Huaxintan's shoulder. Everyone was wearing thick down jackets. It couldn't have hurt much. But that little girl became furious, grabbed a sharp stone, and charged over like a leopard, hitting him on the head. I froze in place. In my previous life, Huaxintan was brought back to the Hua family. She was radical and eccentric, often throwing tantrums at home. Mother Hua always wiped away tears in front of me, reminiscing about how well-behaved and obedient Huaxintan was when she was little. If she had grown up properly in the Hua family, she would definitely have been the most sensible and outstanding girl. But the Huaxintan in Ji Qiyue's words didn't seem to be the same soft, sweet, well-behaved, and lovely little girl in Mother Hua's words. Were those all just a mother's rose-tinted glasses? After Huaxing finished her noodles, I comforted her for a while longer. The doorbell suddenly rang. Uncle Ji hadn't been home recently, having gone abroad for business discussions. Aunt Ji went to a good friend's full moon banquet today and said she'd be back late. I naturally assumed it was Aunt Ji returning, but after opening the door, I saw an unexpected face. The corners of my mouth suddenly turned down. Excuse me, Huaxing. Perhaps it was my sudden change in expression. Hua Zhao's words also trailed off. He looked at me with confusion. The two looked at each other for a few seconds. Realizing I had lost my composure a bit, my expression softened, and I stepped aside. Huaxing, your brother is here. Hearing this, Huaxing quickly got up, scurried over, and called out, feeling wronged. Brother. Hua Zhao looked at her and sighed softly. I've already scolded Huaxintan. Don't be angry, come on, let's go back with me. Huaxing sniffed and meekly followed behind. After taking 2 steps, she remembered something again, turned around, and waved at me. Yingyue, thank you for tonight, I'm going home now. I was about to close the door, but I met Hua Zhao's gaze. He was looking at me, his eyes full of scrutiny and observation. Bang! I closed the door without hesitation. I started to wonder if I had made a mistake. That's right. The reason Huaxintan was able to return to the Hua family so quickly was because I had anonymously sent a text message to Father Hua. In my previous life, the news of Huaxintan being brought back to the Hua family even made headlines. The small mountain village where she was abducted back then was a notorious human trafficker village. It was said that several college students were abducted there and forced to bear children. Although my relationship with Huashintan in my previous life was not pleasant. But if just a small effort from me could change the lives of those girls, of course, I would do it without hesitation. I just didn't expect that Huaxing's life would change because of my actions. Originally, she should have grown up safely and steadily in the Hua family until she was 18, just like I did in my previous life. But now, with Huashintan returning early, her situation would naturally become much more difficult. My prediction was correct. After that day, Huaxing was occasionally driven out of the house by Huashintan. Several times, even at 9:30, I still saw her sitting alone by the flower bed. Sometimes, Huaxiao would come out to find her. Other times, I would take her back to the Ji family. And after I helped Huaxing a few times, Huashintan also successfully turned her target towards me. One rainy evening, I saw Huaxing shivering from the cold on a bench, so I had no choice but to pull her to come back with me. Unexpectedly, we were caught by the sudden appearance of Huashintan. She glared at Huaxing, her small face filled with anger. "Oh, so that's it. I wondered why you were always fine. Turns out you had help." I looked at her coldly. "It's raining, can't you see? So what? She ruined my painting. She deserves to be punished." Huaxing shook her head hastily. "I didn't ruin it, you clearly tore it yourself. So what? If I say you ruined it, then you ruined it." Huashintan looked haughty, her spoiled princess temper fully on display at this moment. Then, she swept her gaze over me twice. "I heard you two came from the same orphanage. Sure enough, you both reek of the same stench." With that, she even feigned disgust and fanned her nose. I once again recalled the adjectives Mother Hu used to describe Huashintan when she was little. Soft and sweet? Cute and well-behaved? This truly opened my eyes. Her mother's filter was as thick as a city wall. I didn't indulge her one bit. "I heard you were abducted and sold to the countryside for a year? Got beaten quite a bit, didn't you? Did you perhaps live in a cowshed? I can smell the heavy odor on you too." Huashintan's face immediately changed, almost leaping up. "What did you say? Didn't you hear me?" Her little face was twisted with anger, and she rushed over, slapping me hard across the face. This time, I finally experienced the fiery temper of this little devil. Likewise, she should also get a taste of mine. Slap. I raised my hand expressionlessly, returning the slap without hesitation. It stunned Huashintan. This young lady must have been accustomed to running rampant in the Hua family. No one had ever dared to treat her like this. Therefore, it took several seconds for her to realize she had been slapped. Her eyes widened like brass bells. "You dare hit me? Why wouldn't I dare?" "Ah!" Huashintan flew into a rage, screaming shrilly. Then the two of us got into a brawl, frightening Huaxing, who was standing nearby, speechless. Although I'm not good at fighting, I've at least been reborn. I know where a girl's weak spots are. I desperately tugged at Huashintan's hair, and she screamed in pain. Within a few rounds, the other party was at a disadvantage. Huashintan's eyes were bloodshot with rage, yet she couldn't beat me and refused to admit defeat. After picking herself up off the ground, she glared at me fiercely, while using her watch to call Huaxiao. "Brother, hurry over, right now, immediately." I also got up from the ground, and gave her a cold sneer. "So she's calling for backup? Who doesn't have a brother?" Then, I also made a call to Ji Qie. 5 minutes later, Ji Qie and Huaxiao arrived simultaneously. Seeing Huashintan's and my hair as messy as a bird's nest, and the terrified Huaxing beside us. For a moment, neither of them realized what had happened. "Brother." Seeing her backing had arrived, Huashintan ran to Huaxiao, crying, "Lin Yue hit me, you quickly get revenge for me. I must beat her to death today." The two finally understood the situation. Ji Qie's face immediately changed color upon hearing her words. He gravely examined me from head to toe. After confirming that I wasn't bleeding anywhere and didn't have any large bumps on my head, he turned around and said coldly, "Huashintan, are you sick? If you're sick, go to the hospital. Don't act crazy here." Huashintan's nose became crooked with anger when she heard Ji Qie scolding her. "You're the one who's sick, your whole family is sick. She hit me first." Yehia snorted. "So what if she hit you first? I don't believe Yeye would hit you for no reason. If you weren't constantly bullying Huaxing, kicking her out so she had nowhere to go. Would Yaya lay a hand on you? Don't be so arrogant. Be careful, you might get abducted again one day. Hua Xiao couldn't listen anymore and reprimanded coldly. Jiqie, don't go too far with your words. I'm going too far? Why don't you say your sister's actions are too much, constantly kicking people out? If that's the case, you shouldn't have adopted her in the first place. Hua Xiao said no more, but pulled Hua Xintan. It's raining, let's go back quickly. Hua Xintan couldn't believe her brother was simply telling her to go back so lightly. I don't want to. Why should we leave? Lin Yingyue just hit me. Hurry up and hit her back for me. Hua Xiao frowned. For this unruly younger sister. A trace of displeasure finally appeared between his brows. If you're not going back, then Hua Xing and I will leave first. Seeing the two actually leave, Hua Xintan stomped her feet on the spot, wishing she could shatter the floor tiles. Hua Xiao walked a few steps then paused. Jiqie, does your sister still get nosebleeds often now? Jiqie looked bewildered and turned to ask me. When did you ever get nosebleeds? Why don't I know about it? I shook my head. I never get nosebleeds. The bright yellow streetlights shone on Hua Xiao's face. He pursed his lips and looked at me thoughtfully for a moment. After a long pause, a mocking smile curled at his lips. After calming down, I felt a little regretful. I shouldn't have fought with Hua Xintan just now. What if she went back and took all her anger out on Hua Xing? Wouldn't I be harming someone else? After all, Hua Xintan returned so early in this lifetime because of me. So Hua Xing's current situation is actually also my fault. I began to feel annoyed and unconsciously asked, Jiqie, should I not have fought with Hua Xintan just now? Why shouldn't you have? After Hua Xintan goes back, will she? I thought for a moment that first graders probably hadn't learned the idiom to intensify, so I rephrased. Will Hua Xintan take all her anger out on Hua Xing? He didn't think so. Even without tonight's incident, wouldn't Hua Xintan still pick on her? Then what should we do? This situation is quite tricky. The two of them live under the same roof every day, always seeing each other. It would be effortless for Hua Xintan to cause trouble for Hua Xing. Jiqie didn't speak, thought for a while, and then asked me, are you very worried about her? It's impossible not to be worried. After all, this current situation has a lot to do with me. I said dejectedly yes. We can only ask Hua Xing first to see if she's willing to continue staying with the Hua family. If she's unwilling, then we'll see if the Hua family is willing to give up the adoption. If both parties can agree, then let's bring her to our house. Hearing this, I froze in place, staring blankly at Jiqie. Are you serious? He smiled slightly. Do I look like I'm joking? Oh my god. How much does this guy want a little sister? I'm speechless. But will Auntie Ji agree? It's just an extra pair of chopsticks, why wouldn't she agree? Only young Master Ji could say such a thing. I know the Ji family is very wealthy, but adopting a child isn't just about adding an extra pair of chopsticks. Not long after I was adopted by the Ji family, Mrs. Ji had already signed me up for at least 6 or 7 interest classes. These all cost money. However, if Hua Xing could really move into the Ji family, it wouldn't be a bad solution. Jiqie suddenly thought of something and abruptly looked at me. There's something I want to ask you. What? Why do you never call me brother? You always call me Jiqie. My face inexplicably grew hot. I couldn't possibly tell him that there was no way I could call an 8-year-old boy brother. You adopt so many younger sisters just so others will call you brother? Yes, I do. Speechless. Jiqie made it sound simple, but he still badgered Auntie Ji for a whole week. Auntie Ji finally relented, saying she would first sound out the Hua family. If they agreed, they would then figure out how to change the adoption. However, what they didn't expect was that the Hua family disagreed. Mrs. Hua said that Hua Xintan had indeed been sulking these past few days, because there was a new member in the family. But their family had been working on Hua Xintan recently, and Hua Xintan had also fully recognized her mistake, stating that she would get along well with Hua Xing in the future. Auntie Ji was extremely embarrassed and slinked back. She also gave Jiqie a harsh scolding. Since the Hua family had such an attitude, it meant that this matter was impossible. I could only tell Hua Xing that if Hua Xintan bullied her again, she should come to the Ji family to find me. Perhaps Huixintan listened to the Hua family's advice. Later, I rarely saw Huixing being kicked out of the house again. Logically speaking, having to repeat elementary school, I should have found life very boring. Strangely though, I didn't find life dull at all. Instead, I quite enjoyed the monotonous yet pleasant life. Because I knew, time flies, like a white steed flashing past a crevice. A person's life in reality is very short. Every day, every moment, should be thoroughly enjoyed. And indeed, that was the case. In the blink of an eye, I was in high school. Compared to elementary and middle school, high school life was noticeably busier. But all in all, I still handled it with ease. TSK, I see you never stop reading novels every day, and yet you're still first in the midterm exams. You're such a top student, you're too amazing. When school was dismissed, Huixing couldn't help but shake her head after seeing my phone screen. I turned off my phone and said seriously, as a reborn person, if I can't even beat you little kids in exams, then that's really inexcusable. I think you've truly gone mad. The two of us walked towards the school gate together. Where's your family's car? I have to take the bus home by myself today. Ji Chiye would let you take the bus home alone? Why wouldn't he? Isn't he afraid of you encountering some bus maniac or subway maniac, and never lets you go home alone? Ji Chiye went to the neighboring city for a physics competition these past 2 days, and driver Chen's family had an elder pass away, so he went back to his hometown. Huixing let out a no guandir. High school already ended late. By the time I got back to number 1 mansion, it was completely dark. Huixing and I were discussing a recently popular anime, when we suddenly heard a dull roar. The next second, a motorcycle stopped right in front of us. A girl got off the back seat. Her school uniform skirt was very short. It had clearly been altered. Her hair was dyed in various strange colors like red, green, blue, and purple. It was Huixintan. She kissed the ghost fire boy riding the motorcycle. The motorcycle sped away. Huixintan took a black wig out of her backpack and covered her colorful hair. She then took off her school uniform jacket and tied it around her waist, covering her bare thighs. Seeing Huixing and me, Huixintan rolled her eyes at us. If you dare tell my mom, you're dead. She said that to Huixing. Not until the other person had walked far away. I asked, was that her boyfriend just now? Huixing shook her head. I don't know. During the high school entrance exam, Huixintan didn't get into the main campus's high school. Her father paid to get her into a private high school. So she wasn't at the same school as me and Huixing. I thought about Huixintan's life in the previous life. Dropped out of school at 14, deceived by a punk at 15, had a child at 16, and had a kidney removed while working out of town at 17. She's 15 now. Although she hasn't dropped out of school, she's still dating a ghost fire boy. At this rate, I shook my head, feeling I was overthinking. Ji Chino was not home these past 2 days. At the dinner table, it was just Aunt Ji, Uncle Ji, and me. Uncle Ji was usually very busy with work, and it was a rare occasion for him to have dinner at home today. He, as usual, asked about my recent studies and midterm grades. Aunt Ji never cared about my grades. She only cared if I had enough pocket money, and then transferred a large sum of money to me. After dinner, I received a call from Huixing. She said she'd come over to my place soon to do homework together. 5 minutes later, she called again to say she couldn't make it. Huixintan had asked her to deliver a jacket. Deliver what jacket? A down jacket. She went out with friends and forgot to bring one, insisting I deliver it to her now. Alright, then I won't wait for you. Yep, talk later. After I finished my homework and scrolled through some videos for a while, I was about to take a shower. Sister Lee came upstairs and knocked on my door, saying someone was looking for me downstairs. I went downstairs, but I saw Huixao. Seeing me come down alone, he instinctively looked behind me, then asked, "Is Huixing not here?" I found it a bit strange. She didn't come over tonight. The other person pondered for a moment, then nodded. I see. I'm sorry to have bothered you. I looked at my watch and realized it was almost 10:30. Didn't you call her? Huixao shook his head. Her phone is off, can't get through. Did Huixing not tell you where she went? I remembered that phone call. She said she was going to deliver a jacket to Huixintan. Why don't you try calling Huixintan? Both phones are off. The situation was a bit unusual. I racked my brain and finally recalled the address Huaxing mentioned on the phone. Queen's Bar. I'll go with you. Having lived 2 lives, this was my first time in such a noisy, jarring, and bizarre place. I hadn't realized Queen's Bar was so big. Not only did it have a main hall and booths, but also private rooms on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floors. Hua Xiao and I could only search for her room by room. When we found Hua Xintan, she was playing dice with a group of boys, holding a small green beer bottle. She was wearing a very sexy dress that didn't quite suit her age. I didn't care about her. I only cared about Huaxing. Soon I saw Huaxing. She was slumped on a nearby sofa, completely asleep, as if unconscious. Most importantly, her school uniform had been unbuttoned, revealing her undershirt. A boy with dyed yellow hair was sitting beside her, one hand fumbling inside her bra. My mind went buzz. All the blood in my body rushed to my head in an instant. Then, without time to think, I grabbed a bottle of foreign liquor from the coffee table and rushed over. Thump! I smashed the bottle on the yellow-haired boy's head. He looked at me bewildered. Then, a dark red stream of blood ran down his forehead. The entire private room fell silent at that moment. After a brief stun, the yellow-haired boy wiped the blood from his face. Damn it, you dare hit me? You really don't want to live. He lunged at me in a fit of rage. But then his face was hit with another punch, thrown by Hua Xiao. The private room instantly became lively. Hua Xiao had studied Taekwondo, so his fighting ability was not low. But there were too many opponents, they swarmed him, and he couldn't gain any advantage. I helped Huaxing pull up her clothes and found that the back clasp of her bra had already been undone. Anger filled my chest once more. I grabbed another bottle of foreign liquor with my other hand, searching for the yellow-haired boy I had hit earlier. After finding my target, I walked over and smashed it hard on his head again. Thump. After a dull thud, the yellow-haired boy's body swayed twice. He clutched his head, glaring at me with bloodshot eyes. Damn you, I'll fight you to the death. Just as he was about to settle scores with me again, his body uncontrollably lurched forward. Then he fell heavily to the ground, as if he had been kicked hard. I looked up, and indeed he had been kicked. And the person who kicked him was Ji Qiyue. When did he arrive? Kicked to the ground, the yellow-haired boy became even more exasperated and furious. Damn you, you stinking girl. I'm going to take care of you today, no matter what. Ji Qiyue walked over, placed one foot on his head, and looked down at him, like death incarnate. His gaze was sharp, and the words he uttered were like shards of ice. If your mouth isn't clean again, I'll tear it out for you. The yellow-haired guy immediately shut up at his words. An hour later, everyone was giving their statements at the police station. Considering that Ji Qiyue, Hua Xiao, and I were all still students, the police gave us a verbal warning. But those ruffians weren't so lucky. Huaxing was only 15. Being forced to drink by that group, coupled with the molestation, Hua Xiao directly called the Hua family's lawyer. His goal was simple: to put those thugs in jail. Especially that yellow-haired one. Hua Xintan seemed to still want to plead for that group. Brother, they're all my friends. Can't we just let it go? Enough. Hua Xiao spat out 2 words angrily. 2 lifetimes. It was the first time I'd seen Hua Xiao speak to his own sister with such a cold and biting attitude. Hua Xintan, don't force me to slap you in a place like this. Hua Xintan stared at him in disbelief, as if she was full of grievances with nowhere to vent them. What does it have to do with me? It wasn't me who made her drink. She's just stupid, has a low alcohol tolerance, and passes out after 1 drink. What does that have to do with me? I suddenly understood. A person like Hua Xintan, no matter what environment she grew up in, is an incorrigibly bad seed. She doesn't even have the most basic empathy as a girl. Even with a childhood friend, she could watch the other person being bullied without batting an eye, remaining indifferent on the side, even smiling and drinking with the bullies. I couldn't imagine how cold-blooded such a person truly was at heart. Ji Qiyue snorted coldly from the side, his expression contemptuous. Huaxing being adopted by your Hua family was truly 8 lifetimes of bad luck. If she wakes up, she'll definitely regret it terribly. If she had known this, she would have been better off growing up in an orphanage back then. Hua Zhao's face turned pale, but he couldn't refute a single word. Huashintan was stamping her feet on the side. Ji Qiyu, what do you mean? Our Hua family provided her with food and clothes. Where did we ever mistreat her? Providing her with food and clothes makes you great? How will you compensate for the humiliation Huaxing suffered tonight? Why should I compensate? How do you know it was humiliation? Maybe she enjoyed it immensely. As soon as the words left her mouth, the three of us, me, Ji Qiyu, and Hua Xiao, simultaneously stared at her face. Because none of us three had expected Huashintan to say such a thing. How much malice must one harbor to say such a thing to a 15-year-old girl? Seeing all three of us looking at her with furrowed brows and cold expressions, Huashintan's arrogance diminished somewhat, but she still refused to give in. Why are you looking at me? I'm telling the truth. Ji Qia pondered for a moment, then turned to look at me. Ingwe, I hope you maintain at least 5 meters distance from Huashintan forever from now on, and have nothing to do with her, to avoid being backstabbed in the future. That's hilarious, Ji Qia. You treat your sister like a treasure, but to me, she's not even worth a fart, let alone a 5-meter distance. I don't even deign to speak to her. Ji Qia didn't want to get tangled up with her, and pulled me away. It's getting late. Let's go back. Huaxing woke up the next day. Even if I didn't say anything about the previous night, the police would still question her. After giving her statement to the police, Huaxing remained silent for several days. After consulting with Aunt Ji, I asked Huaxing if she wanted to stay at the Ji family's house for a while. She agreed without much thought. The Ji family house was large, with many rooms. After Huaxing moved in, her mood visibly improved. Not long after the bar incident, Hua's mother had apologized on behalf of Huashintan. But Huaxing didn't want to forgive the other party this time. So, she and Huashintan had completely broken off their relationship. Saturday evening. I was about to go for a night run when I encountered Hua Xiao in front of the iron fence. Originally, I didn't want to bother with him, but he called out to me. Hua Xiao handed me a stack of cash. Huaxing's living expenses for this month. Please give them to her. Seeing my silence, he explained again. I tried to transfer money to her before, but she didn't accept it. I'm troubling you. I scoffed. Do you think Huaxing, living at the Ji family's house, would lack living expenses? Hua Xiao paused slightly, silent for a moment. She still carries the Hua surname. You know she carries the Hua surname, but unfortunately, your sister only treats her like a Japanese person to mess with. With that, I prepared to leave. Huashintan is Huashintan and I am I. Lin Yue, you seem to dislike me very much? Is there anything about me that's worth liking? What exactly did I do to offend you? You offended me in your past life. Hua Xiao let out an exasperated laugh. You don't like a brother like me, but you like a brother like Ji Qia. So you'd rather be adopted by the Ji family than the Hua family, right? It seems now that it proves I made a very wise choice back then, doesn't it? Hua Xiao was so choked up by my words that he couldn't utter a single sound. While the two of us were confronting each other, Ji Qia had already come out of the house. He rushed quickly between us, separating me with his hands, like a hen protecting its chick. And Hua Xiao was that eagle, eyeing its prey. What do you want? Had enough to eat and now you're too idle. Coming to our doorstep to cause trouble, aren't you? Hua Xiao sneered. Ji Qian, are you a dog? Are you sick? You're the dog, your whole family are dogs. If you're not a dog, why is your nose so keen? As soon as any man says a word to Lin Yue, you sniff out the scent and appear. Ji Qian paused, crossing his arms. So what? Lin Yue is my sister. Isn't it okay for me to sniff out the scent and come protect her? Especially you Hughes, there's not a single good person in your family, so of course I have to keep a close eye on her. Hua Xiao gave him a cool glance, a mocking smile playing on his lips. You'd better be thinking that. After the other person left, Ji Qian couldn't help but ask me, what did he just say to you? I shook my head. Nothing much. He told me to give some money to Huaxing. Who cares about his paltry sum? By the way, it's so late. Where are you going? For a night run. Night run? I'll join you. Wait for me to change my shoes. No need really. Of course there's a need. It's so late. What if you run into a pervert? Fine. After driver Chen's elderly mother passed away, my father's health took a turn for the worse. He might have to take a long leave. Unable to come to work for now. The G family usually had 3 drivers on duty year-round. One was Uncle G's personal driver. One was Auntie G's. And another was responsible for taking me and Ji Qian to and from school. Within 2 days, the person replacing Driver Chen was on duty. Only, after seeing that honest and simple face, I froze on the spot. I've seen that uncle before. In her past life, Hua Xintan was brought back to the Hua family. Because of my presence, she would almost daily throw tantrums at home. Mrs. Hua had no choice but to suggest I move out of the Hua family. When I left the Hua family, Mrs. Hua transferred a sum of money to me, enough to rent a place and get through my entire senior year of high school. However, as soon as I stepped out of the complex, I was stopped by Hua Xintan. She looked at me with disdain. Hua Yingyue, can you be any more shameless? Our family raised you all this time, and you still have the nerve to take my mom's money? If I were you, I wouldn't take it even if I had to sell myself. Have some decency and give my mom's money back right now. Hua Xintan verbally abused me mercilessly. Then, she snatched my phone and forcibly transferred all the money out of it. Late at night, I was pushing my suitcase, wandering aimlessly on the street. Just as I was debating whether to call a classmate to borrow some money, an uncle in a luxury car stopped in front of me, asked me a couple of questions, then handed me 50,000 yuan, and drove away without hesitation. I was completely bewildered. Luckily, that uncle left me a number. 3 months later, I was brought back to the Hua family by Hua Xiao. I originally wanted to return the money to that uncle immediately, but he told me over the phone that it wasn't necessary. After that, he never answered my calls again. I even thought for a time that I had been blessed by some goddess of luck. It turns out this uncle actually works at the Ji family. Could it be that the money from my past life was given to me by the Ji family? But I wasn't familiar with the Ji family at all in my past life. To this day, I still don't understand why Ji Qiji in my past life wanted to sponsor my studies in England. After I refused, he even flew back from England to persuade me. Of course, I once suspected if he liked me, but that seemed too unbelievable, because I'd never been close to him, not since we were kids. For me, 2 sentences sum up Ji Qiji's identity. 1. Hua Xiao's classmate. 2. Lives in the same residential complex. Furthermore, Ji Qiji doesn't seem like the type to, how should I put it? The kind of guy who would fall in love at first sight with someone, then commit deeply, wholeheartedly, and unforgettably to loving a woman. Anyway, he definitely doesn't seem like the pure love type. As the only son of the Ji family, he's rich, handsome with sword-like eyebrows and star-like eyes, tall, and an international student. He has enough halos to be the male lead in a romance novel. In my previous life, I married Hua Xiao. Ji Qia happened to be in the country, and he came to my wedding with a few friends he grew up with. Hua Xintan took an immediate liking to him. Hua Xintan had even pestered him relentlessly for quite some time. Seeing that Ji Qia was genuinely not interested in her, she finally gave up. Would such a Ji Qia fall for me, someone who hadn't spoken more than a few words to him since childhood? This isn't a novel, after all. How could that be? So afterwards, I quickly dismissed the thought. Anyway, no matter what, I was still very happy to see this driver uncle again. The uncle's surname was Wu. He wasn't a local, and I heard his hometown was in the neighboring province. Perhaps it stemmed from the connection we had in our previous lives. I felt an unusual sense of warmth towards him. Soon Hua Xing's and my first year of high school came to an end. And Ji Qia also faced his college entrance examination. Different from my previous life, in this life he didn't go to the UK to study business management. Instead, he chose a top 985 university in China to study finance. Coincidentally, that university was also the one I attended in my previous life. Hua Xiao's life trajectory remained unchanged. He still went to the British University from my previous life. The only difference was that Hua Xintan also went abroad with him this time. I heard that the Hua family had already arranged a boarding high school in the UK for her, where she could enroll upon arrival. Hua's mother once asked Hua Xing for her opinion, asking if she wanted to study in the UK. Hua Xing refused. The Hua family didn't press her further. 2 years later, Hua Xing and I graduated from high school. I chose my alma mater from my previous life, but opted for a different major, software engineering. So Ji and I officially became alumni. Huaxing's university was in the same city as ours, not far away. In my sophomore year, Ji began interning at Jisher. By the time I was a senior and about to intern, he was already working as a product manager. As the saying goes, having connections makes things easier. Then, I naturally joined Jisher, and was even assigned to Ji's department. I had completely latched onto him for support. The work was easy, the salary was good, I rarely had to work overtime, and I could even hitch a ride to work in Ji's G-Wagon every day. Huaxing was utterly envious. Due to a lofty ideal she held since childhood, she became a combined master's and PhD student in clinical medicine. Every day, she had endless books to read, countless exams to take, experiments to complete, and often had to take a bus to the hospital, which felt like going to jail. Her life was so tough that she would call me every evening to vent her frustrations, saying she really wanted to come back and be with us. She even said she might as well just get a job at the G Corporation and slack off, because if the sky fell, Ji would catch it for her anyway. That sounds great. When you're back, we can play mahjong with Ji and Auntie G. You learned how to play mahjong? I chuckled. Yeah, I've been playing every day recently with Driver Wu and Uncle Zhang. And I've even won quite a bit of money. They say it's beginner's luck. I'm dizzy from reading all day. And you're out there having fun behind my back every day. That's just not fair. How about I share some of the money I won with you? It's so good to get money without having to work for it. Is it the money I care about? What I care about is why you can play mahjong and I can't. You really don't want it? Alright then. Ji also asked me today if your living expenses are enough. If not, he'll transfer some to you. The pocket money Auntie G transferred to me last time isn't even used up yet. Don't worry, if I run out of money, I'll naturally ask him. Later. Huaxing called me less and less often. I thought she was just getting busier. Until one weekend, she said she was bringing someone home for dinner. We were shocked to discover that this girl was actually in a relationship. He was a senior from her department, only 1 year older than her. He was tall and handsome, a bit like On Hyo-sip from the Korean drama Dr. Romantic. The first time I saw him, I couldn't believe it. Are there really handsome guys of this caliber among medical students? Huaxing nodded confidently. Yes, I had to put in a lot of effort to get him. You brat, you're doing so well. Are there any more handsome guys like him at your school? Introduce one to your big sister. You. Forget it, I wouldn't dare. What do you mean? I'm afraid of getting beaten up. Are you sick? Who would dare to beat you up? Someone would. While we were messing around, Ji came over and asked if we wanted to play mahjong. Since Huaxing brought her boyfriend home today, Uncle Ji, wanting to vet him, was also home for a rare occasion. Are you playing? I asked her. Who's afraid of whom? Let's go. Huaxing readily agreed. After sitting down at the table, Uncle Ji and Auntie G, two super rich patrons, sat opposite us. Huaxing and I sat opposite them. Huaxing's boyfriend Lu Xingxin and Ji stood behind us respectively, acting as strategists. My luck had been good recently. I hadn't lost a single game playing cards with Driver Wu and Uncle Zhang. But today, I don't know what happened. It's been almost half an hour since we sat down, and I haven't won a single hand. On the last hand, I drew a 5 of dots. I wanted to gang declare a concealed quad. After all, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Maybe I could even get a gang Shang Kai Hua winning immediately after a gang. Ji coughed several times behind me. I thought he had a cold and didn't pay it much mind. As a result, after I declared the gang, both Uncle Ji and Aunt Ji snatched the win, and I suffered heavy losses. Huaxing was laughing so hard. Ji was practically coughing smoke behind you. You didn't even notice. Whose fault is that? I was speechless. That hint was too subtle. How was I supposed to know what you meant? Why didn't you just push me? Ji rubbed his forehead slightly, finding it both funny and frustrating. My dear lady, wasn't that hint obvious enough? I was practically about to grab your hand to stop you from ganging. Aunt Ji glanced at her son and shook her head. It certainly wasn't obvious enough. Yaya has been losing all night, and I don't know how you, the strategist, have been directing her. Uncle Ji also chimed in upon hearing this. Son, your mahjong skills are a bit lacking. Ji Qihua humbly accepted the criticism from the two elders, picked up his phone, and tapped a few times. 3 seconds later, my phone chimed with a transfer notification. A transfer from young Master Ji, 200,000. It was indeed my improper direction, little Lin Yue. Play as much as you want tonight. If you win, it's yours. If you lose, it's on me. How about it? Actually, I had only lost a few thousand yuan in total. Suddenly getting a windfall like this made me a little embarrassed. So the clown was me all along. Alright, you all just spoil her, Huaxing quipped from the side. Let's get rich together. I'll transfer you 100,000. Anyway, it was Ji Qiua's money. Spending it didn't hurt my heart. Huaxing quickly refused. No, my baby will reimburse me for whatever I lose tonight. Whatever you lose, your Ji Qiue will reimburse you. That sounded a bit odd. Who's Ji Qiue? Huaxing's expression froze for a moment. Then she licked her lips and continued. You're Ji Qiue. My surname is Hua. I'm not part of your family, remember? I'm speechless. 2 days later, Huaxing came back again, saying she had to go to the Hua family. Why go there? My brother is back. Hua Xiao. I remembered, in my previous life, he also came back around the time I graduated. Not long after returning to the country, Hua Xiao proposed to me. At the time, I was completely baffled. After I came to my senses, I naturally refused without a second thought. From childhood to adulthood, I had always regarded Hua Xiao as my own brother. Marrying my own brother, that's something I couldn't do. But to my surprise, the entire Hua family started to persuade me. Father Hua said that Hua Xiao and I grew up together, knew each other inside out, and understood each other. If we were to marry, it would save us the trouble of a political marriage. Mother Hua appealed to my emotions and reasoned with me. It seems that you and I are destined to be mother and daughter in this life. It's good. I truly wouldn't be at ease if you married into another family. Hua Xintan coldly said to me. Our family has raised you for so long, and now that you've graduated from university, you just want to pack up and leave? Is there such a white-eyed wolf like you? Finally, I ultimately couldn't withstand the pressure from the Hua family, and had no choice but to marry Hua Xiao. Married life was not beautiful. Hua Xiao was very busy and rarely came home. Later, I gradually realized. He wasn't busy, he was deliberately giving me the cold shoulder. In fact, I was relieved. Two people who had grown up as siblings, their relationship suddenly changed to that of husband and wife. To be honest, I didn't know how to face him. If this marriage could continue so uneventfully, it wouldn't be a bad thing. Just as I was holding on to this thought, my peaceful life was shattered by an incident. Hua Xintan's engagement was called off. Her fiancé was the son of a good friend of Father Hua. Somehow, he learned that Hua Xintan had undergone major surgery, lost a kidney, and had even given birth to a child in the countryside, so he adamantly wanted to break off the engagement with the Hua family. In fact, Hua Xintan's past had been kept very quiet. Since she was brought back to the Hua family at 18, with her parents' intervention, she got into a vocational college through connections. After graduating from college, she directly joined the Hua group. Because she had a chairman father and a general manager brother, she only held a ceremonial position at Hua's. Her daily life actually consisted of going shopping with her girlfriends. Later, through her parents' introduction, she went on a blind date with the son of a prominent family. The boy was very handsome, an overseas returnee. He had good looks and a good education. Hua Xintan liked him very much. They got engaged not long after they started dating. Just as they were discussing marriage, the man called off the engagement. Hua Xintan was heartbroken. She returned home, threw a tantrum, and broke things. She blamed father and mother Hua, saying that if they hadn't lost her in the first place, she wouldn't have been dumped today, causing her to lose all face. She also accused Hua Xiao, saying that they were biological siblings, and that she should have enjoyed her parents' doting love, attended prestigious schools, and studied abroad like a brother since childhood. But I only ended up with a college degree, couldn't speak a foreign language, and was looked down upon everywhere. Then she cursed me loudly again, calling me shameless, a cuckoo in the nest, and wicked-hearted. She accused me of occupying her life. asking me why I was so thick-skinned. She had been back to the Hua family for so long, why I still wouldn't leave, insisting on staying with them. Why did I marry her brother and continue to dominate her parents? She even said that someone like me should have grown up in an orphanage, eating stale food, drinking dirty water, and being molested by old men. Even after growing up, I was only fit to date punks and fight with hoodlums. She cursed fiercely, saying that I should have been the one to lose a kidney, saying that I didn't deserve to be in their family at all, that I was only fit to be the dirtiest worm at the bottom of society. Hua Xintan, with a distorted face, jumped up and down, using every vicious and unpleasant word to curse me, while wantonly smashing things in the living room. But she seemed to have forgotten. Not long after she was brought back to the Hua family, I moved out. It was Hua Xiao who stubbornly insisted on bringing me back, and resolutely asked me to continue staying in the Hua family. And it wasn't me shamelessly insisting on marrying her brother. It was their whole family taking turns to persuade me to marry Hua Xiao. My life and hers weren't some nanny swap or true false heiress scenario. It was a year after her disappearance that her parents actively went to an orphanage to propose adopting a child. In other words, even if it wasn't me, they would have adopted another girl. That day, after Hua Xintan threw a massive tantrum at home, Hua Xiao's attitude towards me could be described as icy. So too were father and mother Hua. Mother Hua fired all the domestic helpers and aunties overnight, and sternly warned me that from then on, the cleaning of the entire villa, and the family's 3 meals a day, would all be my responsibility. Father Hua stood by, not saying a word, clearly tacitly agreeing with Mother Hua. At that moment, I felt the intense hatred that their family harbored for me. Clearly, they were blaming Hua Xintan's ruined life on me. They were taking revenge on me. For almost 2 years, I became the Hua family's full-time nanny, on call 24 hours a day. Every day, like a spinning top, I constantly worked various chores without a break. Washing clothes, cooking, grocery shopping, mopping floors. Most importantly, whenever I was present, their family seemed to treat me as if I were invisible. Everyone was slowly torturing me with their icy stares and indifferent body language. Except for Hua Xintan. She was the only one who wouldn't ignore me. On the contrary, she would curse me, scold me, mock me, and even deliberately push me down the stairs. Finally, one day, I couldn't take it anymore. I didn't want to continue wasting away in such a suffocating and gloomy life. I'd go crazy if this continued. So I brought up divorce with Hua Xiao, and told him that I would quickly find a job and pay back all the expenses the Hua family had spent on me over the years. But Hua Xiao flatly refused. I still can't forget his cold, callous gaze. Hua Yingyue, what right do you have to ask me for a divorce? Tanner suffered so much for so many years. You must spend the rest of your life atoning for it. The rest of my life? I was only adopted by the Hua family for 12 years. I left the Hua family to go to college at 18, and after that, I never asked them for a single penny. Why? Why must those 12 years be exchanged for my entire life? I completely erupted, yelling hysterically. I never asked you to adopt me. You yourselves came to the orphanage and brought me back to the Hua family. Why are you telling me to atone? Why should I atone? The person who kidnapped Hua Xintan was your family's nanny. Your entire family doesn't atone. Yet you want me alone to atone. Why? Hua Xintan dropped out of school at 14 because she was stupid. She was dull. She couldn't learn. She dated a punk at 15 because there was something wrong with her brain. She had a child at 16 because she wanted to satisfy herself. She lost a kidney in a fight at 17 because she was thoughtless. None of those things have anything to do with me. Even if Hua Xintan hadn't been kidnapped and had grown up safely in your Hua family, how do you know she would have been a well-behaved person? How do you know she wouldn't have ended up the same way? Slap. My response was a heavy slap from Hua Xiao. I covered my face, staring blankly at that cruel and ruthless face. Hua Yingyue, if you continue to talk nonsense, or dare to bring up divorce with me again, I won't mind sending you to a mental hospital under the guise of mental instability. Yeah, you look terrible, what's wrong? Hua Xing's concerned voice rang out. I abruptly pulled my thoughts from the memory and rubbed my forehead. Nothing, just haven't been sleeping well these past few days. You didn't stay up late watching dramas again, did you? No, I didn't. Huaxing remembered something and turned to grab his bag. Do you want me to give you some sedatives? I think I have some in my bag. I haven't been able to sleep well either lately, because of upcoming exams. No need. Aren't you going to the Hua family for dinner? Go on. Are you sure you don't want them? Absolutely sure. Alright, I'll be going then. Okay. Friday evening. While out for a walk, I passed a supermarket not far from my apartment complex, and remembered that I hadn't bought household necessities in a while. So I went in and bought a few things. But when I went to pay, I realized I had grabbed the wrong phone when I left the house. I had taken my backup phone, which I rarely use. My backup phone wasn't linked to any bank cards, and I only had a few dozen yuan in WeChat Pay. I had no choice but to give up. I'm so sorry, I forgot my money. I won't be buying these for now. I smiled apologetically at the cashier. Not long after I walked out of the supermarket, someone came up behind me and handed me a bag. I glanced at it. It was exactly the items I had spent so long picking out, but hadn't paid for. No need, I didn't pay for these things, so they're not mine, I said indifferently. Hua Xiao raised an eyebrow and curved his lips. Do you really think I'd have any use for these things? I remembered that I had also picked up a few packs of tampons earlier. I paused, then took the bag. I'll give you the money tomorrow. How about we exchange WeChat? You can transfer it to me when you have time. Hua Xiao took out his phone, showed his QR code, his voice cheerful. Without hesitation, I immediately called Huaxing. He quickly picked up. Huaxing, help me transfer 200 yuan to your brother. Transfer it to my brother? Why? Just transfer it first, I'll explain later. In less than a minute, Hua Xiao's phone chimed with a notification. He looked at me helplessly, as if defeated. Lin Yue, you haven't changed all these years. What did I ever do to offend you? I knew he had a strong sense of pride and was usually quite aloof, so I said bluntly, you didn't offend me, but you're too ugly. I don't want to see you. Can you stay away from me? Ever since elementary school, Hua Xiao had always been showered with love letters from girls. His good looks had never been questioned. At this moment, being unexpectedly called ugly by me, his face also turned quite unpleasant. He coldly dropped a remark. Unappreciative. Then he flicked his sleeves and left. After I got home, Huaxing called me. What happened just now? Did you run into my brother? He didn't take the money. I said a couple of things to him and then he hung up, seemed pretty angry. But then he called again and asked me to push your WeChat to him. I haven't done it yet. I said I'd ask for your opinion. I rubbed my temples, my tone crisp. Don't push it. Alright, I understand. Looking at the items I had just carried back, I felt a little annoyed. Are you sick? Who told him to pay the bill? How inexplicable. I suspect I've been severely unlucky lately. Otherwise, why would I keep running into people I don't want to see? Oh, isn't this Lin Yue? Haven't seen you in years. How have you managed to do so poorly? What kind of junk car are you driving? Is the Ji family going to go bankrupt? At the entrance of one mansion, I hadn't even had time to feel sorry for my newly dinged car. A mocking, sneering voice drilled into my ears. I looked in the direction of the sound. A young woman was getting out of the driver's seat of a red sports car. Wavy hair, red lips, a large pair of sunglasses on her face. Wearing skyscraper heels. It was Huaxintan. You were speeding, and besides, you can't drive with heels that high. Huaxintan sneered. Look at how pathetic you are. I wouldn't even want this junk car if you gave it to me, but you're so heartbroken over it. I couldn't be bothered to waste words with her, and prepared to call insurance. Before I could dial, GTU's call came in. Why aren't you here yet? You were just a little behind me. My car got hit. There was a 1-second pause on the other end, and his voice immediately became anxious. Are you hurt? Where are you? Right at the community entrance. 3 minutes later, that black G-Wagon drove out. GTU got out of the car, checked me all over, and only breathed a sigh of relief when he saw I was fine. Yihiyua? Huaxintan walked over, calling out tentatively. GTU turned his head. Perhaps because the other person was wearing sunglasses, he didn't recognize her immediately. Who are you? Huaxintan took off her sunglasses, her eyes sparkling, her voice several degrees softer than before. I'm Huaxintan. Ji Chihua stared at her for a few seconds, then looked at the sports car behind her. Your car? Yes. How do you drive? Can you even drive with shoes that high? Hua Xintan looked sheepish and shrugged. I didn't do it on purpose. Did you report it to insurance? Ji Chihua asked me. Haven't had time yet. I called the insurance company, explained the general situation, and took photos at the scene. The car wasn't too badly damaged, but the front bumper definitely needed to be replaced, and one light was also damaged. Next, I just needed to take the car to the 4S shop whenever I had a free day. Ji Chihua, what's your number? Let's add each other on WeChat. Before leaving, Hua Xintan suddenly grabbed Ji Chihua, her face full of enthusiasm. No need. The insurance company will call you. Just follow the procedure. Ji Chihua replied to her in a very businesslike manner, which made Hua Xintan stomp her feet in anger. What a pity. My new car got hit on its third day on the road. I had waited for several months specifically for this new Mini. Utterly depressing. I didn't even have much appetite for dinner. It wasn't until past 10 o'clock that Ji Chihua knocked on my door. In his hand, he held a steaming bowl of noodles. Still not feeling better? What's wrong? Ji Chihua walked in, placing the noodles on my desk. Didn't you hardly eat dinner? I asked Aunt Zhang to make you a bowl of noodles. No way. Eating at this hour is the easiest way to gain weight. You're already so thin. What's wrong with gaining a little? We need to nip it in the bud. If I break the rule once today, I might break it a second time tomorrow. Ji Chihua crossed his arms, watching me with a leisurely air. One bite costs 200 yuan. Damn it. Only a fool would pass up free money. Deal. I took 5 bites, earned 1,000 yuan, and decisively put down my chopsticks. You don't want to earn any more? He smiled slightly, patiently continuing to coax me. Have another sip of the soup. I firmly shook my head. Soup is the easiest way to gain weight. Ji Chihua thought for a moment, then suggested to me, how about you drive my car for now, and when you've improved your driving skills, I'll buy you a new Mini. Drive his big G? Come on, I can't even afford gas. Gas reimbursement, maintenance reimbursement, insurance premium reimbursement, how about that? I don't like driving those tough cars, I just like Minis. Otherwise, I wouldn't have waited several months. Ji Chihua couldn't help but rub the top of my head, like he was petting a puppy. Then you keep driving this one. When you don't like it anymore, I'll buy you a brand new one just like it. Is that okay? Young Master Ji, with all his wealth, had spoken. I had no choice but to agree. The next day at noon, my 2 colleagues and I had just walked out of the office building, discussing where to go for lunch, when someone called out to us. Oh, Lin Yingwe, so you work here too? I looked up. Then my face filled with surprise. What the hell? Why was Hua Xintan here? The security guard breathed a sigh of relief. Miss Lin, you've come just in time. This young lady insists on going up to see Manager Ji. Seeing me, Hua Xintan acted very familiar. Lin Yingwe, what floor is your brother on? What's his phone number? In my previous life, Hua Xintan met Ji Chihua for the first time at my wedding with Hua Xiao, and immediately developed a strong interest in him, then started pestering him relentlessly. In this life, she and Ji Chihua were old acquaintances who had grown up together, just hadn't seen each other for several years. I didn't expect such a plot to unfold. I asked indifferently, do you need him for something? Of course. What is it? Why should I tell you? She rolled her eyes. Oh, then why should I tell you his phone number? You. My 2 colleagues and I were about to leave, but the other party called out to us again. Lin Yingwe, don't tell me you've fallen for your brother Ji Chihua? I wouldn't have guessed it. You act so pure on the surface, but who knows how you're seducing him at home? I didn't expect Hua Xintan to have evolved to be so ill-mannered. After 6 years in England, she really hadn't improved at all. How about we go for Teochew claypot rice? I pulled my 2 colleagues further and further away, completely ignoring her. Over the next few days, Hua Xintan kept trying to get close to Ji Chihua. She couldn't find him at the company, so she came directly to the house. Honestly, I think she was pretty shameless, because anyone with eyes can see that Ji Chihua was completely uninterested in her. He practically shunned her like the plague. But unfortunately, Hua Xintan was that blind person. To ask me to pursue a man like that, I really couldn't do it. The turning point came when Huoxing brought Lu Xingxin back to Ji's house for dinner. Hua Xintan came to the Ji family to find Ji Qie and happened to meet the talented and charming Lu Xingxin. Her eyes lit up again. Exactly the same expression as when she saw Ji Qie that day. Even when Huoxing introduced him as her boyfriend, Lu Xingxin. The fervent glow in Huoxintan's eyes didn't diminish one bit. Sure enough, after that day, her visits to confront Ji Qie significantly decreased. A few days later, Huoxing called to tell me something. Father Hua had taken Huoxintan to dinner with Lu Xingxin and his father. I didn't react for a moment. Lu Xingxin and his father? Your dad knows them? It seems so. Why did he take Huoxintan? Isn't this a blind date? Doesn't your dad know Lu Xingxin is your boyfriend? My dad doesn't know, only Huoxintan knows. I thought for a moment. She's probably been hitting brick walls with Ji Qie lately, so she's planning to poach your guy. However, logically speaking, someone as snobbish and realistic as Huoxintan wouldn't make a move just because Lu Xingxin is handsome. Is your boyfriend's family quite well off? Huoxing sighed softly on the phone. Renqin Hospital was founded by his grandfather. Renqin Hospital is the most reputable and largest private hospital in our city. I see. That explains it then. Huoxintan's taste was as consistent as ever, just like in her past life. She liked handsome, good-looking, and wealthy second-generation rich kids. What are you planning to do now? I'm taking Lu Xingxin to the Hua family for dinner tonight. My dad should understand then. Facing it head-on, that's good too. That evening, Huoxing quickly reported her results to me. She said that when she and Lu Xingxin appeared together at the Hua family home, her dad looked stunned. After introducing Lu Xingxin's identity to the whole family, she also specifically emphasized that Huoxintan and Lu Xingxin had already met at the Ji family's house last time. Father Hua's expression became noticeably more serious. After dinner, Father Hua saw her out and even specifically apologized to her. He confessed that he had indeed taken Huoxintan to dinner with Principal Lu and his son once before, but at that time he didn't know Lu Xingxin was Huoxing's boyfriend. Not only that, but Father Hua also apologized on behalf of his daughter, Huoxintan. Huoxing said that throughout the entire evening, Huoxintan's face was as dark as Baogong's. You can't imagine how satisfying it was. I was greatly pleased. Very good, very good. Our Huoxing is no longer the little pushover she was as a child. She deserves praise. But don't get complacent. You know Huoxintan's personality. She holds grudges and is petty. Don't let her trick you. Huoxing readily agreed. I know. From now on, I'll try to avoid going to the Hua family if I can. Everything else aside, Lu Xingxin is someone I finally managed to charm. Is it easy for me to find a handsome boyfriend with clear features at medical school? After that, Huoxintan never again tried to make a move on Lu Xingxin. She probably wanted to go back to bothering Ji Qie. Unfortunately, Ji Qie was away on a business trip abroad. After several days of failing to track him down, she had no choice but to give up. Life returned to normal. Every day, I went to work, left work, and attended all sorts of large and small meetings. I conducted market research, analyzed customer needs, planned products, and arranged exhibitions. I was busy and happy every single day. When Ji Qie returned from his business trip abroad, he immediately frowned upon seeing me. How did you get so thin? Haven't you been eating? A new product just launched recently, so I haven't really had time. No matter how busy you are, you still need to eat. I swear you're unbelievable. Come on, let's go. Go where? Let me treat you to dinner. Why are you treating me to dinner? I asked, a little surprised. We rarely eat out. Aunt Zhang's cooking is no joke. It's on par with those 5-star chefs outside. Every day, she changes up the menu for us with various dishes. Most importantly, eating at home is much cleaner than at restaurants. Ji Qie thought for a moment. I heard a new Western restaurant opened on Central Road. Let's try it. Hearing that, I could only agree. This newly opened restaurant is in a prime location, and it's on the 56th floor, high above the city. The decor is artistic, exuding a niche, refined vibe. Standing by the window, you can overlook most of the city's night view. When we were ordering, the waitress said, "Sir, our cloud-top Western restaurant is currently in its soft opening phase. All couples dining here can enjoy a 30% discount. Ji Chiwe, who was in the middle of ordering, paused, then suddenly took my hand. We are a couple. Okay, if you two are willing to prove it, I'll make a note now, and you can enjoy the discount when you pay the bill later. Prove it. I was a little confused. Still need to prove it? How to prove it? Ji Chiwe also froze slightly. The waitress explained. Sorry, ever since our restaurant introduced the couples discount, many non-couples have pretended to be couples to enjoy the discount. To prevent this, all couples participating in the event must prove it themselves. You and your girlfriend just need to give a small kiss. A small kiss? Was that Chinese? I was pondering the meaning of that sentence. A child at the next table accidentally spilled soup, getting it all over the table and clothes. The waitress who took our order said excuse me, and then hurried off to the service desk, probably to get a rag or something. Ji Chiwe leaned in and whispered to me. What should we do? Let's just forget it, we can't use this discount. Ji Chiwe cleared his throat twice. Two people can save at least 200 or 300. When did you become so stingy? Money isn't easy to earn these days. That's true. His money doesn't just grow on trees. The waitress quickly returned. Sir, would you like to use the couple's discount? Ji Chiwe's eyes slightly narrowed, his face composed. Can I kiss my girlfriend's cheek? There are too many people here, and she gets shy easily. The young lady thought for a moment, then nodded, her tone very understanding. All right, seeing as you're so handsome. Didn't anyone ask for my opinion? Then. Ji Chiwe gave me a quick, fleeting kiss on my cheek. The young lady finished taking the order and left contentedly. I don't know why. I didn't really feel that embarrassed either. Perhaps Ji Chiwe and I are just too familiar with each other. But he was quite calm just now. Now for some reason his earlobes were faintly red. Before long, a suspicious blush also appeared on his face. Are you all right? I asked him. What? Your face is very red. A trace of embarrassment and panic flashed across Ji Chiwe's face, but he quickly composed himself. He raised a hand and fanned himself twice, saying earnestly, It's too hot. Don't you think the temperature here is a bit high? Is it very hot? But I don't feel it. While there was still some time before our meal, I went to the restroom. When I came out, I ran into someone in the hallway. Hua Xiao. He was leaning against the wall, his face expressionless. As if he was just zoning out alone. Or as if he was waiting for someone. Of course, I wouldn't acknowledge him, so I walked straight past. Lin Yue. He called out to me. I ignored him. Are you dating Ji Chiwe? Is he out of his mind? So you like having this kind of forbidden romance? Don't you think it's sickening, you two, being a couple under the guise of being siblings? I stopped in my tracks and looked at him. What does that have to do with you? Hua Xiao sneered. It doesn't concern me, but it disgusts me. I sneered back. I'm happy. Do you have a right to control me? I turned to leave, but was abruptly yanked back. Hua Xiao pinned me against the wall, his obsidian pupils suddenly constricting. His grim expression seemed to suppress a brewing storm, filled with the oppressive feeling of an impending downpour. Lin Yue, are you trying to get my attention this way? I was speechless. I never thought that the always aloof and distinguished young master Ho would utter such confidently average words. Self-importance is a disease, you should go to the hospital and get a number. The disdain on my face was so obvious. Hua Xiao's face completely froze. After a long moment, he carelessly curled his lips into a sarcastic smile. That's for the best. Back at the restaurant, I saw Hua Xiao at a table not far from ours. Opposite him sat a very stylishly dressed, very beautiful girl. The two seemed to be on a date. No wonder. He must have just seen the scene where Ji Chiwe kissed me. What a jerk. Why do you look so pale? Ji Chiwe noticed my mood was off and followed my gaze. His expression subtly changed. You just ran into Hua Xiao? I hummed in affirmation. What did he say to you? Nothing much. Seeing that I wouldn't say anything more, Ji Chiwe fell silent at the right moment and didn't press further. After dinner, the two of us headed home. I don't know when I fell asleep, but when I woke up, I found the car parked outside the yard. Ji Chiwe's down jacket was covering my chest, and the heater was still on in the car. He was quietly sitting in the passenger seat, scrolling through the news. Why didn't you wake me when we arrived? I rubbed my sleepy eyes. You were sleeping so soundly. Why didn't you drive in? I was afraid if they started arguing, you'd wake up again. I checked the time and realized I had slept for at least an hour and a half. Jichia probably arrived home an hour ago. I'm really impressed. He doesn't even get bored. That night, I was working overtime at the company for a departmental meeting. My phone rang just as the meeting began. It was Huoxing calling. Taking advantage of a colleague organizing the PPT on stage, I grabbed my earphones and put them on. Huoxing, what's wrong? There was no response on the phone. Hello, Huoxing? Still nothing. It seemed like an accidental touch on their end. I wasn't in a hurry to hang up, and waited a little longer. The call remained connected. It was very quiet on the other side. Occasionally, I heard wind, like someone was driving. About 20 minutes passed like this. Seeing that Huoxing still hadn't responded, I prepared to hang up. But just before I hung up, a clear voice spoke. Brother Zhou, are you at the bar? A shiver ran through me. It was Huoxingtan's voice. Why hadn't Huoxing said anything? Were they together? Was Huoxing unwilling to speak, or unable to speak? Brother Zhou? Bar. I remembered the incident many years ago when Huoxing was tricked by Huoxingtan into going to Queen's bar, and I suddenly stood up and rushed out of the meeting room. Huo Zhao's phone number immediately popped into my head. Even after all these years, I still remembered it clearly. Daring not to hang up the phone I was currently on, I picked up the landline receiver from my desk and quickly dialed Huo Zhao's number. After 2 beeps, a familiar yet distant voice came from the other end. Who is this? Huo Zhao, it's Lin Yue. Is Huoxing with Huoxingtan tonight? There was a pause on the phone, and her tone was very flat. Huoxing came home tonight to celebrate my mom's birthday. She had a little to drink, and Huoxingtan sent her back. I felt a chill run through my entire body. Huoxing never drank normally, and if she were even slightly sober, she would never let Huoxingtan take her home alone. I tried hard to control my trembling hands. Huo Zhao, if you still consider Huoxing your sister, call Huoxingtan right now and ask her where she is, as calmly as possible. Ask if Huoxing has been dropped off. Remember, speak calmly. They probably understood what I meant. Lin Yue, what exactly do you want to say? I calmly explained. Huoxingtan knew Lu Xingxin was Huoxing's boyfriend all along, but she still incited your father to take her to dinner with Dean Lu and his son because she fancied Lu Xingxin and wanted to steal him away. But Huoxing didn't back down. She chose to bring Lu Xingxin back to the Huo family and directly revealed his identity. Huoxingtan didn't achieve her goal and was confronted head-on by Huoxing in such an unyielding manner. Huoxingtan is your biological sister, you know her personality perfectly well. Huoxing never drinks normally, so why is she drinking at your house tonight? And why was Huoxingtan so kind as to take her home, when she clearly despises Huoxing the most? If what happened at Empress Bar 7 years ago happens again, Huo Zhao, you will also become a sinner. The receiver went silent, then quickly hung up. I picked up the phone beside me and put it to my ear. There was a constant whooshing sound of wind. Huoxingtan must still be driving. Suddenly, the car phone rang again, and I instantly tensed up. Brother Zhou, I'm on Zhejiang Road about 10 minutes from Tianyin Bar. I'll put this woman in a booth later. You can take her upstairs to a room or to the restroom, whatever you want. Remember to take photos for me. Videos are even better. I want to see if Dean Lu will still want such a shameless daughter-in-law after tonight. I gripped the phone tightly. The current Huoxingtan, compared to Huoxingtan 7 years ago, is simply even more utterly stupid and beyond saving. Tianyin Bar? I spun around abruptly, bumping straight into Ji Qie. What happened? Seeing my panicked face, he quickly steadied me. Something happened to Huoxing. We need to go to Tianyin Bar quickly. 20 minutes later, Ji Qie and I arrived at the bar. Ji Qie took out a wad of cash and found the bar manager. The manager quickly checked the surveillance footage and soon located Huoxing's room. When the door opened, the man was naked, adjusting his camera lens. Huoxing lay unconscious on the bed. Damn it, who are you people? Who let you in? Get out of here. The man, seeing a group of people suddenly burst into the room, hurriedly wrapped himself in a towel and shouted. I looked at the scrawny, dark-skinned man in front of me. It suddenly dawned on me. This man was the same yellow-haired guy from 7 years ago. In the end, the yellow-haired guy was taken away by the police again. Huoxing was sent to the hospital. After a doctor's examination, apart from some bruises on her arms and legs, there were no signs of assault for now. Huoxing remained unconscious, most likely because she had been given a certain degree of sedatives. Hearing this, a weight was finally lifted from my heart. It wasn't until the early hours of the morning, when dawn was breaking. I groggily opened my eyes. Found Huoxing was already awake. She was leaning against the pillow, texting. "You're awake." Huoxing saw me, and a smile spread across her lips. How are you feeling? Is anything uncomfortable? My head was a bit dizzy when I first woke up, but it's fine now. I breathed a sigh of relief. Huoxing instead asked me, "What about you? Are you hungry?" Jiqie went back for breakfast. Auntie Zhang stewed some porridge at home and steamed some xiaolongbao. I shook my head, looking at her with some concern. "I'm not hungry. Are you all right?" Huoxing smiled and reached out a hand. "I walked over." She wrapped her arms around my waist, hugging me tightly, and sniffled. She said softly, "What could be wrong with me? The doctor told me nothing happened yet you and Jiqie got there in time." Yeah, thank you for saving me again." I hugged her back, patting her gently. "What's all this talk about? It's because you were clever enough to call me, otherwise." Neither of us spoke again. After a good while, "What are you planning to do now? As for that yellow hair," Jiqie said it would be no problem to get him locked up for another 2 years. "And Huoxintan?" Huoxing's tone was remarkably light and calm. Yeah, I don't want to pursue Huoxintan's responsibility. Because even if I wanted to, my parents would definitely come begging me, so I just won't bother with it. After this incident, my ties with the Huo family are pretty much severed. From now on, I likely won't return to the Huo family. I've figured it out now. The best way to get revenge on someone is to indulge their flaws. With Huoxintan's personality, she'll cause a huge disaster sooner or later. I don't need to lift a finger. What Huoxing said didn't seem unreasonable. Moreover, everyone has their own beliefs about what's right. Outsiders truly can't interfere. In the afternoon, after completing Huoxing's discharge procedures, I went home, took a shower, and slept for an entire afternoon. Until the phone rang. "Lin Yue, can you come out for a bit? I have something to ask you." I glanced at the phone number on the screen. It was Huo Xiao. I had no idea how he got my number. "What is it? What exactly happened to Huoxing last night? Ask her yourself." She hung up on me. Proves she doesn't want to tell you. But I need to know. Whether you need to know or not, what's it got to do with me? I'm outside the Ji family's courtyard. If you don't come out in 5 minutes, I'm coming in to find you. He really was sick. And seriously ill at that. 5 minutes later, I walked out of the courtyard with a cold expression. And sure enough, I saw Huo Xiao standing by the roadside. His expression was somewhat solemn. "Last night, Huoxing, did anything unexpected happen?" I answered him directly. "No, Huoxintan probably drugged her tea last night, intending to find someone to assault her and film it. But Ji Qian and I got there in time and saved her. The person your sister found is the same blonde guy from 7 years ago, the one your Huo family lawyers sent to jail for 2 years. Thanks to your sister this time, he'll probably be going back in for another 2 years." Huo Xiao remained silent for a long time after hearing this. After a good while, he slowly spoke. "Huoxing, how is she now?" "She's doing well. But she doesn't want to have anything to do with your Huo family for the rest of her life. Please do her a favor and let her go. You should be very glad you weren't adopted by our Huo family." Huo Xiao suddenly said. I curled my lips. "That's right, I am quite glad. Lin Yue, I have another question. How did you get my phone number last night?" I froze slightly. I didn't expect him to ask such a question. So I casually replied. "Huoxing told me before. Is there a problem?" Huo Xiao stared directly at me, his gaze so sharp it seemed to pierce through me. "You're lying. Why are you lying? I only changed this phone number a week ago. Huoxing has no idea, not just Huoxing, but Huoxintan, and even my parents don't know yet." A cold sweat broke out on my back. That's right. In my previous life, Hua Xiao's phone number had indeed changed once. It seemed his phone was stolen when he went abroad. Because his old number was linked to too many platforms, and fearing malicious use of the old number, he changed his phone number and rebound all his social and bank accounts. I never expected it to be at this moment. What a coincidence. Answer me. How do you know my new phone number? Hua Xiao gradually approached me. I took a step back, feigning composure. What's so strange about me knowing your number? You know mine too, and I don't recall ever telling you. I asked Driver Wu this morning, and he told me. Damn it. I didn't want to discuss it with him anymore. If you have nothing else, I'm heading back. Hua Xiao suddenly gripped my wrist, his eyes dark, his expression shadowed. Lin Yue, what exactly are you hiding from me? Why do I feel like you shouldn't be living with the Ji family at all? And shouldn't have been adopted by them? I shivered. Could it be that Hua Xiao also remembered things from his past life? No way. Let go of me. Why do you hate me? What is it about me that you can't stand, to the point where you've looked at me like garbage since we were kids? Hua Xiao, let go of me, do you hear me? You like Ji Qiang? What makes him better than me? Are you two siblings or a couple? Are you crazy? You like being adopted by the Ji family, but not by the Hua family, is that right? Why? Is Hua Yingyue not good enough? Hearing the 3 words Hua Yingyue, I felt as if a bucket of cold water had been thrown in my face. My whole body turned cold. Hua Yingyue. Hua Yingyue. Hua Xiao gazed blankly at my face, muttering to himself. My body began to tremble. The 3 words Hua Yingyue were like a nightmare. I was clearly far away from that nightmare. Yet at this moment, it felt as though I was about to be dragged back into that abyss. Just as Hua Xiao's hand was about to touch my cheek, someone suddenly rushed over and grabbed him by the collar, followed by a muffled groan. Hua Xiao fell to the ground. It was Ji Qiang. Before I could react, Hua Xiao quickly got up and delivered a hard punch to Ji Qiang's face as well. The two began to brawl, punch after punch, each hitting harder than the last. Soon both their faces were bruised. I finally snapped out of it and rushed forward, desperately pulling the 2 of them apart. Ji Qia, who had always been gentle and humble in front of me, now had eyes as fierce as a cheetah. I'm warning you, Hua Xiao, stay away from our family, stay away from Yaya. Hua Xiao scoffed disdainfully, clearly not taking his words seriously. What are you to me? Why should I listen to you? Because in this life, her surname isn't Hua. Don't even think about controlling her life again. My mind buzzed. I abruptly looked at Ji Qia. He was staring intensely at Hua Xiao, his brows furrowed with indignation and determination. Hua, if you dare to interfere with Yaya's life again, I absolutely will not let you off. Back home, Aunt Ji was startled to see Ji Qia with bruises on his face. What happened? Did you get into a fight? No, I just fell. Aunt Ji looked speechless. Do you think I'd believe that? You're a grown man still learning to fight? Your rebellious phase is coming a bit too late, isn't it? Yeah, please get me the first aid kit. Yeah. I looked up blankly, my mind elsewhere. Aunt Ji, were you calling me? What's wrong with you? Your face is so pale. Are you feeling unwell? After fully coming to my senses, I shook my head. No, Aunt Ji, I'll help him put on the medicine. Aren't you supposed to go out? Don't worry. Oh, that's good too. Thank you for your trouble. Mrs. Li and I have an appointment to discuss something, and I'll be late soon. In the study, I opened the first aid kit and took out cotton swabs and ointment. I spoke out of the blue. Ji Qia, when did you come back? The other person winced and hissed in pain as he replied. Just got back. Why are you with Hua Xiao? He's not a good person, stay away from him. I mean, when did you remember your previous life? Ji Qia looked stunned, staring blankly at me. Silence all around. The air solidified. He stammered and asked me, when did you come back? The day the Hua family went to the orphanage. That's why I wasn't adopted by them. Damn it. Ji Qia swore in front of me for the first time. He said he came back around the same time. That's why he went to the orphanage immediately and saw that I hadn't been adopted by the Hua family. He was overjoyed and wasted no time in taking me back to the Ji family. So the 2 of us who were reborn have been living together in the Ji family for so many years, yet we knew nothing about each other? I have to say, When it comes to acting, these two are truly hidden dragons and crouching phoenixes. If I can win the Oscar for Best Actress, then Ji Chiyue can absolutely take home Best Actor. Haven't you ever wondered why I wasn't adopted by the Hor family in this life? Didn't I ask you when I was little? You said you peed your pants at the orphanage that day. And with Hua Zhao's personality, it wouldn't be surprising if he found you distasteful and adopted another sister instead. Alright. That certainly makes sense. What about you? When I brought you back to the Ji family, did you never question it? Ji Chiyue asked me. Why would I question it? The first time we met in our previous life, didn't you say you wanted me to come to your house to be your sister? It's perfectly normal that you saw me at the orphanage in this life and brought me back. Yi Chiyue. Everything was so coincidental. In our previous life, on the day I moved out of the Hua family, did you tell Uncle Wu to give me 50,000 yuan? Ji Chiyue rubbed his nose, indicating his admission. You won't marry Hua Xiao this time, will you? I'm not crazy. Why would I marry him? He breathed a sigh of relief, a happy smile on his face. That's good. I didn't expect Ji Chiyue to be reborn as well. I feel like I've finally found my kind. Then another question came to mind. I was reborn because I died in a car accident in my previous life. What about Ji Chiyue? Could it be? After hearing my question, Ji Chiyue said that after learning of my death in his previous life, he had been living in a daze, drinking away his days. One day, he drank himself into a stupor, and when he woke up, he found himself back in his childhood. At first, he thought he had just had a dream. But the moment he pestered his parents to go to the orphanage and saw me, his heart began to pound. He knew it wasn't a dream, but that he had been reborn. Reborn in his childhood. He felt that this must be a second chance given to him by God, so he didn't hesitate to bring me back to the Ji family. After listening to Ji Chiyue's words, I was silent for a long time. I never imagined that my death in my previous life would affect him so much. I asked the question that had been buried in my heart for a long time. Ji Chiyue, in our previous life, were we very close? He stared with wide eyes. We grew up together. How can you say we're not close? In my previous life, Ji Chiyue was merely Hua Zhao's classmate and someone from the same neighborhood. But in his eyes, I was his childhood sweetheart. We grew up together. No wonder he offered to pay for me to study in the UK. When I refused, he even flew back specifically to persuade me. A long time ago, I used to think Ji Chiyue wasn't the pure love type. Unexpectedly, he really is. After learning that Ji Chiyue was also a reborn, I was actually quite happy. Before, I felt a bit like an outsider in this world. But not anymore. I have someone like me now. 2 days later, Hua Xing came to the Ji family and told us some good news. She had already met the parents of the Lu family. Next month, she and Lu Xingxin are getting engaged. Hua Xing hoped that Uncle Ji and Aunt Ji could represent her elders at her engagement banquet. Besides that, Hua Xing also invited the director of the orphanage. Aunt Ji was overjoyed. She immediately gifted Hua Xing a villa property as part of her dowry. Hua Xing felt a bit awkward and quickly explained that she didn't mean that. You didn't mean that, but Auntie did. All these years, Auntie Ji has long considered you half a daughter. What's wrong with a mother giving her daughter a property when she's getting married? Just take it. Hua Xing's eyes reddened, and she hugged Aunt Ji, her eyes teary. She said that ever since she was 7, every time Hua Xintan kicked her out of the house, she would come here. In her memory, the Ji family was her safe haven. In fact, she had long considered the Ji family her own home, and Aunt Ji and Uncle Ji as her own parents. To be honest, I also didn't expect Hua Xing and Lu Xingxin to proceed so smoothly. I thought wealthy families would definitely emphasize matching social status. But wealthy families nowadays don't seem to be like that. Does the Hua family know about your engagement? Hua Xintan nodded. I called Mom Hua, but I don't know if they'll come. I heard Ji Chiyue and Hua Xiao got into a fight a few days ago. Is that true? I didn't expect Hua Xintan to bring that up. I honestly didn't know how to answer her. Yes, there was. Yeah, answer me one question seriously. What? Does my brother like you? No. Really? Of course. I'm not even close with him. Why would he like me? Logically, that's true, but didn't he ask me to send him your WeChat last time? Hua Xiao isn't someone who does things without reason. You're overthinking it. Hua Xing breathed a sigh of relief. It's best if I'm overthinking it. You really shouldn't get involved with Hua Xiao. Putting everything else aside, if you end up with a sister-in-law like Hua Xintan, you'd have 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Thank you. I've already had a lifetime of bad luck, I don't want 7 more. Do the Hua family know about what happened last time? They should know. Hua Xiao apologized to me and even gave me a card, but I returned it. I told them to consider it payment for all the years the Hua family raised me. I think they should understand what I mean by now. Hua Xing seemed to recall something else. I heard Hua Xintan is on a blind date. It's my dad's old friend's son, who just returned from studying abroad. The whole family seems quite pleased with him. I thought for a moment. This person must be the guy from my previous life who dated Hua Xintan for a short time before calling off the engagement. This time, maybe they'll actually make it work. After all, Hua Xintan in this lifetime isn't the same Hua Xintan from my previous life, the one who never went to college, had a child in her teens, and had a kidney removed. Instead, she's the standard rich girl who was pampered and cherished by the entire Hua family as she grew up, attending British high school and university. Soon it was Hua Xing's engagement ceremony. The engagement venue was set at the city's largest 6-star hotel, indicating the groom's family's emphasis on this engagement ceremony. Naturally, the entire Ji family was present. What I didn't expect was that the entire Hua family also showed up. It's actually not hard to understand. Hua Xing was utterly disillusioned with the Hua family and wanted to proactively cut ties. But the Hua family would certainly not share that sentiment. Hua Xing becoming a daughter-in-law of the Lu family was already a foregone conclusion. Lu Xingxin's family had 3 generations of doctors, especially old Mr. Lu, the founder of Renqin Hospital, who was someone all the powerful and influential figures in the city wanted to curry favor with. Precisely because of this, it was unlikely that the Hua family would voluntarily give up their connection to Hua Xing. Therefore, it was truly no surprise that their entire family appeared at this engagement banquet. Hua Xintan was dressed very formally tonight, in a red strapless gown, paired with a white shawl, a diamond necklace and jade earrings. She was so grandly dressed she almost overshadowed Hua Xing, the leading lady. As I expected, the young man she was holding on to was precisely the same one from my previous life who had dated her for a while before calling off the engagement. Only this time, the boy looked at her with boundless tenderness and adoration. But Hua Xintan clearly didn't care much for him. Aunt Ji and Hua's mother were exchanging pleasantries on the side. Hua's mother's attention suddenly turned to me. Oh, this must be your Yuanyue. She's so beautiful. After 2 lifetimes, this was the first time I was so close to Hua's mother. For years, I had deliberately avoided their family. So there were very few opportunities to meet. Mrs. Hua. I greeted the other party politely and distantly. Hua's mother looked at me quietly and praised sincerely. Mrs. Ji, you are truly blessed. Yuanyue looks like such a well-behaved and sensible child, and she's so pretty. Aunt Ji replied with a smile. Our Yuanyue is indeed sensible and obedient. There aren't many girls this well-behaved nowadays. I don't know why, but seeing your Yuanyue always gives me a sense of déjà vu. May I ask, does Yuanyue have a boyfriend? Just then, Hua Xing walked over and called out to me. Yue, the zipper on my dress seems a bit strange. Can you come to the lounge to help me fix it? The 2 of them went to the lounge. Hua Xing reminded me. Be careful, my mom is clearly interested in you. Maybe she wants to introduce you to Hua Xiao. Stay away from her. Hua's mother wants to introduce me to Hua Xiao. Hearing that, I inexplicably wanted to laugh. What are you laughing at? Nothing. I'm serious. Do you think I'm joking with you? Don't worry. Even if I had only 2 paths before me, one to die and one to marry Hua Xiao, I would choose to die without hesitation, and it's impossible for me to marry your brother. Hua Xing was startled and subconsciously moved to cover my mouth. Pa, 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 pa. What are you talking about? I swear, can you stop spouting nonsense? Brother, what are you doing here? I looked up, and there he was, Hua Xiao, dressed in a tailored suit, his posture tall and straight, exuding an air of nobility and composure. But his eyes were like a frosty glaze, staring coldly at me. Beside him, A voice full of extreme disdain scoffed. Lin Yue, you're not afraid of biting your tongue, making such big claims. What kind of pipe dream are you having? You still want to marry my brother? An orphan with no father or mother. If you don't have a mirror at home, at least you have urine. Are you sick? Yue is just like you, she has a dad, a mom, and a brother. How is she an orphan? If she's an orphan, then you are too. Huaxing didn't tolerate her for a second, retorting instantly. Huaxintan immediately broke down. Huaxing, what do you mean by that? Are you cursing dad and mom? If I'm cursing dad and mom, then you were just cursing Aunt G and Uncle G. If you can curse, why can't I? You heartless ingrate, whose family raised you anyway. I've never denied the Hua family's kindness in raising me, but that doesn't give you the right to make a scene at my engagement party. You. Enough. Hua Xiao reprimanded heavily. What day is it today? Can you two please consider the occasion? I also quickly advised Huaxing. Stop arguing with her. Huaxintan would love to ruin your engagement party, so she can swoop back in and snatch Lu Xingxin. Don't fall for her trick. Upon hearing my words, Huaxintan's face turned green. Lin Yue, what do you mean by that? My words mean exactly what they say. You're willing to do it, so why are you afraid of others talking about it? I sneered coldly. Then I walked into the lounge with Huaxing, about to close the door, when Huaxintan violently pushed it open. Oh, so you two are coming to settle scores with me? It's just an engagement, look at how smug you both are. Huaxing, I let you off once last time. You were lucky I didn't get your naked photos and videos, but that doesn't mean you'll have the same luck next time. Slap. Huaxing trembled all over, stepped forward, and slapped Huaxintan across the face. This really stirred up a hornet's nest. You dare hit me? As Huaxintan's eyes widened in fury, about to return the slap, I abruptly pushed her away. But I pushed too hard, and she fell down. Especially since Huaxintan was wearing 10-centimeter high heels today. She fell quite clumsily. Huaxintan was furious. I'm going to fight you both. I was genuinely a bit scared. Huaxintan going crazy was no joke. I wouldn't be in too much trouble. But this was Huaxing's engagement party. I quickly discussed with her. Huaxintan, why don't we go out and fight? It's Huaxing's engagement today, don't mess up her makeup. Huaxintan's face contorted, and she grabbed my hair. I had no choice but to fight back. Seeing this, Huaxing rushed over to pull Huaxintan's hand, trying to make her let go. I quickly stopped her. Don't come up, my dear ancestor. Please stay away from us. If her face gets scratched and bleeds later, it'll be hard to put on makeup. Huaxing didn't listen at all. Seeing that she couldn't pull Huaxintan's hand away, she even opened her mouth to bite. Just then, the door to the lounge was pushed open. I was startled. Oh my God. It would be utterly embarrassing for someone to see 3 women fighting here. Who knew the person who came in was Ji Qiyue? Then the door opened again. It was Hua Xiao. The 2 men were a bit stunned at the sight. Luckily, Ji Qiyue reacted quickly. He immediately locked the lounge door and rushed to my side. You pull Huaxing away first, I instructed him. Hua Xiao also reacted, rushing over to restrain Huaxintan. Let me go, let me go. I'm going to tear apart these 2 little sluts, bitches, rotten whores. Huaxintan was so furious she kept swearing. What happened? Ji Qiyue asked me. It's a long story. I quickly checked Huaxing's makeup and hair. It's fine, not too messy. Ji Qiyue reached out to cup my face, looking very speechless. You still have the mind to care about others. Your own chin is bleeding. I touched it. It was true. Huaxing looked nervous. Let me see, is it serious? It's nothing, just a little blood. You still need to be careful, don't get disfigured. I have scar cream in my bag, I'll go get it now. I'll go with you. Seeing that we were both leaving, Huaxing started stomping her feet again. None of you are allowed to leave. You hit someone and then you want to leave? No way. No one paid her any attention. Evening. Finally, the chaotic day was over. I went home and took a shower. Even I found it quite absurd to actually get into a fight with Huaxintan at Huaxing's engagement party. Unbelievable. Someone knocked on my door. I opened it and saw. It was Ji Qiang carrying a first aid kit. What? How's your chin? Let me see. No need really. There might be bacteria where her nails scratched you. Don't want it to leave a scar. I could only sit on the chair and let him examine it. Ji Qiang busied himself for a while, using cotton swabs, then iodine, then ointment. Was I very embarrassing today? What do you mean? About the fight? He shook his head, his voice gentle and doting. Not at all. I think you were quite cool. If I were a woman, I might have gotten into a fight with Huo Xintan too. Really? I turned my head to ask him. Didn't want to. The two of us were too close. My cheek brushed against his lips. My nose also nudged his nose. Our breaths were audible between us. I stared blankly at Ji Qiang. He also stared blankly at me. Except, his gaze slowly moved from my eyes, to my nose, then to my lips. I felt a bit awkward and wanted to step back. Before I could finish speaking, my lips were kissed. I was stunned, still staring blankly at Ji Qiang. He seemed to smile, his amber eyes fixed on me. What's wrong? Then, he leaned in again. I instinctively covered his lips and asked, Are you sure we should be doing this? Ji Qiang kissed my hand, his gaze gentle and lingering. Confirmed and certain. I got that answer. When he kissed me again, I naturally responded. This is Ji Qiang, the pure love warrior. No harm in kissing. I started to try and change my relationship with Ji Qiang. In my heart, he's different from Huo Xiao. After all, I've never treated him as a brother since childhood. I just treated him as a playmate and good friend. Now transitioning from good friends to lovers. And having to try holding hands with him, cuddling or kissing. It's bound to feel a little awkward. Ji Qiang, however, transitioned very smoothly. In the morning, the two of us would go to work together. As soon as we got in the car, he would naturally take my hand. Lunchtime. He would book a private room in advance, and all the dishes would be according to my taste. He also gave me a supplementary credit card with no limit. Living under the same roof, he would come to my room every day to say goodnight. In the first week of us being together, he asked me when I would tell my family about our relationship. I was worried. Will Auntie Ji kick me out? Ji Qiang was quite optimistic. Then we'll just move out together. Maybe let's wait a little longer. Unexpectedly, the first person to discover our relationship was Huo Xiao. That night, Ji Qiang and I went home after watching a movie. The car was parked outside the courtyard. The atmosphere was great. I said something casually and Ji Qiang smiled. Then he reached out a hand to cup my face. He looked at me like that, his eyes seemingly filled with starlight. The next moment, the two of us naturally leaned closer. Just as we were about to kiss, a sharp honk sounded, startling both of us. Through the car window, I saw Huo Xiao sitting in his car opposite us. His expression was stern, and his gaze sharp. He just stared straight at me and Ji Qiang. Anyone who didn't know would have thought I'd been caught cheating on him. Psycho. I couldn't help but mutter. Ji Qiang's eyes briefly swept over him. Then he drove the car into the courtyard. Not long after Huo Xing got engaged, news came from the Huo family that Huo Xintan was also getting engaged. I heard that the man's side wanted to finalize things sooner. TSK. People truly are pragmatic. Huo Xintan's life this time around could be considered to have fulfilled her wishes from her previous life. But just a few days after I finished sighing, another explosive piece of news broke. Huo Xintan's engagement was called off. Initially, I was quite puzzled. Why was it called off again? Until Huo Xing sent me a video. I clicked it open for only 2 seconds before I was so scared I closed it. Are you okay? What did you send me? For a university student like you, sending this kind of video, aren't you afraid of getting caught? Not long after, Huo Xing sent me a message. This is why Huo Xintan's engagement was called off. I was shocked. Then I opened it again. The video wasn't even censored. The clarity of the picture, the boldness of the content, the wildness of the actions. It was no different from an adult film. I suspected Huo Xintan played hard in private, but I never expected her to play this hard. Huo Xing said that the day before the engagement, Huo Xintan and a friend of her fiancé to be caught each other's eye in the villa and couldn't resist playing a round of poker in a moment of passion. But the other party filmed the intimate video and sent it to a friend to show off. However, That person was dishonorable and forwarded it to another WeChat friend group. The local WeChat groups went wild. Most importantly, the villa where they played poker was the wedding house specially prepared by the man's family for the couple. After the incident, the man's parents were furious. They immediately sent the video to Hua Xintan's parents. Then they canceled the engagement and blocked the Hua family. Hua Xintan's father didn't understand what was going on until he opened the video. He had a heart attack on the spot from anger and was rushed to the hospital by 120. It is said that after Hua Xintan's mother saw the video, she also fainted from anger. No wonder. Mr. and Mrs. Hua had lived respectable lives their whole lives. They thought their children were grown, and it was time for them to retire and enjoy themselves. Unexpectedly, Hua Xintan dragged them through the mud with such a huge scandal, making them lose all face. They couldn't help but collapse. At this moment, I can't help but admire Hua Xing's former wisdom. The best way to get revenge on someone is to indulge their flaws. With a personality like Hua Xintan's, she was bound to cause big trouble sooner or later. Hua Xing didn't even need to lift a finger. Now it seems she really was a prophet. After the scandal, Hua Xintan disappeared. No one could find her. At a time like this, probably anyone would hide away. Although Hua Xing had previously said her ties with the Hua family were severed, with Mr. and Mrs. Hua successively hospitalized, she couldn't completely ignore them. Fortunately, the hospital where the elderly Hua couple was staying was the same one where she was currently interning, making it convenient for her to look after them. Hua Xing had been working non-stop at the hospital these past few days. Aunt Ji worried she couldn't handle it and had Nanny Zhang make chicken soup. Since I was off work and had nothing to do, I volunteered to deliver it to her. Ji Qie stood up and smoothly went to grab his car keys. I'll go with you. Originally, I didn't think much of it. Nanny Zhang chuckled and joked. Young Master Qie is becoming more and more like Ye's shadow. He really is a 24-hour good brother. Aunt Ji shot a glance at Ji Qie, then suddenly sighed with emotion. You're right, I've never seen him so patient with his own parents. My little heart instantly pounded. Oh no, could we have been discovered? After getting in the car. Brother, couldn't you find another excuse? Say you're going to play basketball, or even cards. It's too easy for them to figure it out this way. Ji Qie looked at me with a resentful expression. So when will I get an official title? I patted his fluffy head, like petting a dog. Just wait a little longer. When the timing, location, and people are all just right, then we'll announce it. At the hospital, just as I was about to give the chicken soup to Hua Xing, I saw her hang up the phone with a solemn expression. Something seemed to have happened. What's wrong? I asked her. Hua Xiao was in a car accident, Hua Xing said in a low voice. I was stunned. When did it happen? Tonight. Is it serious? I don't know yet. The ambulance is on its way. Hua Xing said that after the scandal broke, Hua Xintan had been out of contact. Tonight, Hua Xiao learned her current address through a friend, so he decided to drive to pick her up and bring her back. After arriving there, he did find her, but Hua Xintan firmly refused to come back. After Hua's father woke up in the hospital, he was diagnosed by doctors with moderate stroke and is now paralyzed in bed. After her father's stroke, Hua's mother didn't close her eyes for a week straight, and her eyes were swollen from crying. And the perpetrator of this tragedy, instead of repenting and taking responsibility for caring for her parents, insisted on evading the facts and hiding outside. Hua Xiao was furious. He forcefully dragged Hua Xintan into the car, wanting to bring her back. Hua Xintan, disregarding that Hua Xiao was driving, frantically grabbed the steering wheel. This caused the vehicle to lose balance and crash into a stone barrier by the road. At the moment of the accident, out of concern for his sister's life, Hua Xiao instinctively turned the steering wheel towards his side. This caused him to be severely injured and fall unconscious. However, Hua Xintan, who was in the passenger seat, was largely unharmed. Perhaps she was afraid Hua Xiao would force her back. She actually abandoned her severely injured and unconscious brother and ran away by herself. It wasn't until half an hour later that a passing vehicle noticed something was wrong and called the police. After listening to Hua Xing, I remained silent for a long time. Who would have thought that Hua Xintan could be so cold-blooded? Hua Xiao was her own brother. To let her own brother die without helping Is she even human? Huaxing sighed deeply. I knew Huaxintan's temper would cause trouble one day, but I never expected her to cause such a big disaster. If anything happens to Huaxiao, the Hua family will truly be finished. 2 more days passed, and I went to bring food to Huaxing again. I unexpectedly saw Hua's mother in the hospital corridor. When I first saw her, I honestly didn't recognize her. She was clearly only in her 40s, not yet 50. Her hair had completely turned white. At Huaxing's engagement party last time, she was still so young and elegant. Huaxing said that ever since Huaxiao got into a car accident and was admitted to the ICU, Hua's mother's hair turned white overnight, and she hadn't had a drop of water for days. All of a sudden, I was left with only a sigh, not knowing what to say. Huaxing ladled the soup I brought into a small bowl, probably wanting to persuade Hua's mother to eat a little. Unexpectedly, when Hua's mother saw me, her eyes suddenly lit up. Yeah, why are you here? Huaxing shook his head, his expression helpless. I don't know if my mom has been too stimulated recently, she's a bit disoriented. Sometimes she doesn't even recognize me, but she keeps mentioning your name. Isn't that strange? I looked at Mother Hua, unsure if she also remembered things from her past life. Mother Hua walked over, looking at me cautiously. Yeah, where? Where did you go? Why are you only just arriving now? Do you know Huaxiao got into a car accident? He's severely injured, bleeding a lot. It's all Huaxintan's fault. Why did she come back? That wicked girl. I wish I hadn't given birth to her. Yeah, quickly go see Huaxiao. Maybe if you go see him, he'll wake up. I thought for a moment, then gently interrupted her. How could Huaxiao be in a car accident? Wasn't it me who got into the car accident? Mother Hua suddenly lifted her eyes. She stared at me blankly, her face showing bewilderment, suspicion, realization, and confusion. Then she started muttering to herself. That's right, it should have been Yaya who got into the car accident. Yaya, my Yaya, Mom is sorry for you, and my sweet grandson and granddaughter, Grandma is sorry for you all. What can I do? My Yaya just died like that. My heart aches so much. If only I hadn't brought Huaxintan back. If only I hadn't brought Huaxintan back. Mother Hua suddenly burst into tears, crying uncontrollably. Huaxing was startled. Mom, what's wrong? Yeah. What are you and my mom talking about? I don't understand a word. I felt a little embarrassed. I was just humoring her. I didn't expect the old lady to go along with what I said. She might really be a bit obsessed. I could confirm that Mother Hua did indeed remember some things from her past life. But her mental state was also clearly somewhat confused. Perhaps it was due to too many things happening in the family recently. No matter what, it had nothing to do with me anymore. Around 10 o'clock at night, I had just fallen into a hazy sleep. Suddenly, there was an urgent knocking at the door. Opening the door, I saw it was Nanny Zhang. She looked panicked. Yeah, quickly come downstairs and see. I was puzzled. What happened? You'll know when you go down. I was pulled downstairs by Nanny Zhang in a flurry. As soon as I got downstairs, I saw Huaxiao standing in the living room. He was wearing a hospital gown, his head wrapped in gauze, his face still swollen, and his sleeves and chest were stained with blood. He looked very terrifying. No wonder Nanny Zhang was so scared. Seeing me come down, Huaxiao immediately looked at me. His expression was dark, his pitch-black eyes filled with a grief so profound it seemed impossible to dispel. Yeah. He called my name. The moment he spoke, Huaxiao's eyes reddened, and a clear anguish laced his voice. Will you come home with me? He said. Ji Chia arrived a step after me. Soon after, Uncle Ji and Auntie Ji were also awakened. Seeing Huaxiao in such a state, they all nearly dropped their jaws in shock. Huaxiao, are you crazy? If you're going to die, don't die in my house. Go back to your own house, okay? Yihia frowned. Auntie Ji opened her mouth, perhaps intending to say something, then silently closed it again. After all, Ji Chia's words, though rough, weren't unreasonable. In Huaxiao's current state, if he wasn't rushed to the hospital, something truly that might happen. It was Uncle Ji, accustomed to grand occasions, who after a few seconds of composure, calmly said to me, Yeah, call Huaxing and tell her about the situation here. I quickly dialed Huaxing's number. Yeah, is something wrong? I'm busy here, no time. Huaxing, your brother is here. What did you say? The other end abruptly paused. Hua Xiao is here. Hurry and get the hospital people to pick him up. Okay, I'll be right there. I hung up the phone. Hua Xiao was already walking towards me. His face was as pale as paper, and his body looked unusually frail, as if he might collapse at any moment. But he still persistently walked up to me. Then, he looked at me with almost desperate, pleading eyes, and asked in a hoarse voice, "Yeah, I beg you, will you come with me?" Seeing Jiqie next to me about to jump up, I spoke first. "Let's talk in the study. Uncle Ji, Auntie Ji, the hospital is already on its way. You don't need to worry, go up and rest early." Uncle Ji and Auntie Ji saw that I had something to say to Hua Xiao, so they nodded, only telling me to keep an eye on Hua Xiao's health. "Jiqie, you go back to your room too, go to sleep early." Jiqie, however, remained motionless, his face full of resentment. This childish act again. I'm really fed up. I could only resort to a famous line. "I'm counting to 3, 1, 2. Despite his reluctance, Jiqie walked away, turning back every few steps. The study. Actually, I roughly understood what happened. After meeting with Hua's mother a few days ago, I was somewhat prepared for this situation. "You remembered?" Hua Xiao stared at me blankly, shoulders slightly slumped, as if all strength had been drained from her body. "You've seen it too, Hua Xiao. In this life, my surname isn't Hua, and I didn't grow up in the Hua family. I'm the adopted daughter of the Ji family. I have absolutely no connection to your Hua family. Even in my past life, though your Hua family raised me for 12 years, I worked as a full-time nanny for your family for 3 years, and in the end, it cost me my life. Oh no, I should say 1 body, 3 lives. Even if I owed your Hua family immense kindness, it was repaid in the past life. We owe each other nothing. In this life, let's just let each other go and stop being involved with each other." I used a light and casual tone to effortlessly draw a clear line between myself and Hua Xiao. I just hope he understands plain speech and stops barging into other people's homes uninvited like today. Hua Xiao's eyes were misty, and his lips trembled. "I'm sorry. I didn't know you were pregnant at the time." The way he said that. "So, if I hadn't been pregnant, you could have abandoned me on the highway? If I hadn't been pregnant, you could have let Hua Xintan push me down the stairs? If I hadn't been pregnant, you could have let your mother torment me, making me do 20 hours of housework a day. Is that it? I was wrong, Yaya, terribly wrong. I should never have blamed Hua Xintan's fate on you. She's a rotten apple through and through, no matter where she grew up. Her life would have been incorrigible." I remember saying similar words to him in my past life, but all I got in return was an enraged slap from him. I wonder how it feels to have your words thrown back in your face like this? Hua Xiao, don't you think it's ridiculous? In my previous life, I pleaded endlessly for myself. The person who took Hua Xintan was your family's nanny. It had nothing to do with me. I never asked you to adopt me. You yourselves went to the orphanage and brought me back to the Hua family. But your whole family played deaf and dumb, stubbornly blaming Hua Xintan's tragic life on me, while you yourselves got off scot-free. You subjected me to cold violence, hated me, and indulged Hua Xintan in constantly hitting and scolding me, indulging her in abusing me, tacitly accepting all this as her way of venting her resentment over life's unfairness. Every day you lamented and regretted, thinking how glorious and bright Hua Xintan's life and future would have been if she hadn't been kidnapped. So in this life, I specifically sent Hua Xintan back to the Hua family early, so you could change her fate from the previous life. But now you tell me that Hua Xintan is a rotten apple through and through, no matter where she grew up. Her life would have been incorrigible. I remember saying similar words to him in my past life, but all I got in return was an enraged slap from him. I wonder how it feels to have your words thrown back in your face like this? Hua Xiao, don't you think it's ridiculous? In my previous life, I pleaded endlessly for myself. The person who took Hua Xintan was your family's nanny. It had nothing to do with me. I never asked you to adopt me. You yourselves went to the orphanage and brought me back to the Hua family. But your whole family played deaf and dumb, stubbornly blaming Hua Xintan's tragic life on me, while you yourselves got off scot-free. You subjected me to cold violence, hated me, and indulged Hua Xintan in constantly hitting and scolding me, indulging her in abusing me, tacitly accepting all this as her way of venting her resentment over life's unfairness. Every day you lamented and regretted, thinking how glorious and bright Huashintan's life and future would have been if she hadn't been kidnapped. So in this life, I specifically sent Huashintan back to the Hua family early, so you could change her fate from the previous life. But now you tell me that Huashintan is a rotten. That's truly ridiculous. Hua Zhao's expression was blank. His eyes were empty and distant, as if they had lost focus. When I was a child, you were the one who sent anonymous messages to my dad. Yes. You were reborn a long time ago, weren't you? Of course. That's why I wasn't adopted by your Hua family. Hua Zhao finally reacted. There was no light in his eyes, only a tragic smile. Yeah, I know I was wrong. Will you forgive me? After you left in my past life, I was so distraught I wanted to die. That's when I knew I was wrong, and terribly wrong. The people you should be begging are not me, but those two children. They had the chance to see this world, but were cruelly deprived of life by you. You should ask them if they forgive you. Hua Zhao's already pale face instantly lost all color. He slowly collapsed to the ground, his hands covering his face. Tears silently seeped through his fingers, dripping onto the floor. I had no desire to watch him repent there. I was just afraid he might die right here. You should leave quickly, the blood is dripping onto the floor. I need to get Chinsaw to clean it up. Yeah, will you come back with me? If we're together, maybe they'll come back. Hua Zhao's choked voice made my hair stand on end. How could a person be so shameless and despicable? I wanted to slap him, but I was afraid I'd kill him right here. Hua Zhao, are you even human? Think about how you threw me out of the car on the highway in our past life, and how you ignored my pleas and cries driving off. If you had even an ounce of humanity, you wouldn't say such shameless things. I will never, ever forgive you. Get out of my sight immediately, and the further the better. Hua Zhao crawled over, seemingly wanting to beg me, just as I was about to kick him. Hua Xing arrived with medical personnel. She looked at Hua Zhao, who was usually so dignified and proud, now lying on the ground, grief-stricken. Her face was filled with shock. Yeah, what did you two just say? Nothing, quickly take him away. Don't let him die here and affect the property value. I looked at Hua Zhao coldly, like a dying dog. Unfortunately, Hua Zhao didn't die, he pulled through. After half a month in the hospital, he was discharged with Father Hua. As soon as he was discharged, he came to the Ji family to find me. But I wasn't there. He started following me at Ji's company. But I had taken a long leave. Hua Xing called me. Hua Zhao seems to have gone crazy, asking me about you every day. My mom is also obsessed, always asking me where you went. Hua Xing probably had many questions for me, but sensing that I didn't want to talk about it, she held back. Another half a month passed. Hua Xing called me to say that Father Hua had passed away. I was truly surprised and asked what happened. It turned out that Huashintan, who had been missing for over a month, came home. She didn't want to stay in China and asked her parents for a large sum of money, wanting to go abroad for a few years. But by then, the entire Hua family was utterly disappointed in her. How cold-blooded must a person be to ignore their parents when they were sick and hospitalized, and to fake their death and run away when their brother's life was hanging by a thread? Huashintan, seeing that her family refused to give her money, chose to break into the safe in the middle of the night, intending to sell the gold bars inside for cash. The safe was installed in Mr. Hua's room. Waking up from bed in the middle of the night and catching his daughter stealing from his safe, Mr. Hua was so enraged that he suffered a cerebral hemorrhage on the spot. Huashintan, terrified once again, fled. Half an hour later, the maid discovered the abnormality in the room and quickly woke Mrs. Hua to check. But before reaching the hospital, Mr. Hua had already passed away. After hearing Hua Xing's words, I felt a certain degree of sorrow. One must know, Mr. Hua was only 50 years old, in the prime of his life. If not for being consecutively struck by Huashintan twice like this, his life would have been far from over, and the Hua family might have reached a new level in the future. Perhaps all of this was fate. A week later, I returned to the Ji family from my business trip. Hua Xing came to see me. She clearly looked like she wanted to speak but hesitated, stammering. I couldn't help but smile. What do you want to tell me? Hua Xing seemed to have been holding it in, and quickly pulled me, saying, First, let me clarify, it's not that I love to gossip. I just accidentally overheard my mom talking to Huoxiao that day. And then I heard something incredible. What is it? I asked with interest. Listening to their conversation, it seems like they both have memories of their past lives. And in the past life, the person adopted by the Huo family wasn't me, it was you. Later, you married Huoxiao, and their family didn't treat you very well. When my mom talked about this, she kept crying very hard, and kept slapping herself. Then it seems you were in a car accident, very serious, and couldn't be saved. Honestly, I got goosebumps when I heard it. I don't know if they're crazy or I am. I smiled gently and patted Huoxing. Everything they said is true. Huoxing was dumbfounded. Her mouth hung open, wide enough to fit an egg. So I told her everything that happened in my past life in detail. Huoxing remained silent for a full 5 minutes before slowly speaking. So the little girl adopted by the Huo family in the past life was indeed you. And Huoxintan only returned to the Huo family at 18. Because she dropped out of school at 14, had a child at 16, and had a kidney removed when she went to work at 17, the Huo family placed all the blame on you. Huoxiao marrying you was also just to get revenge on you. You eventually died because he threw you off on the highway, and you suffered a series of car accidents, dying while carrying a pair of twin dragon and phoenix babies. Is that right? I nodded. That's basically it. So after Rebirth, I didn't choose to be adopted by the Huo family, and they adopted you instead. To set things right, I even sent Huoxintan to the Huo family earlier in this life, but I didn't expect Huoxintan to be so mean to you. So at that time, I discussed with Ji Qiye whether we could also bring you to the Ji family. Ji Qiye agreed without hesitation. And you know what happened next? The Huo family refused. Huoxing wiped away a tear, trying to compose herself. But the tears just kept falling. Her eyes red-rimmed, her voice choked. You stupid girl. Why did you never tell me any of this? I didn't expect to make Huoxing cry. I quickly handed her the tissue box. Why would I tell you this for no reason? Besides, even if I did, you wouldn't believe it. Huoxing cried harder and harder, her tears like golden beads. Why wouldn't I believe it? As long as it's something you say, I'll believe it. From childhood until now, every time Huoxintan kicked me out, you were the one who searched everywhere for me, then coaxed me to come to the Ji family. Every time Huoxintan bullied me, you were also the one who jumped out to defend me and fight her. Why did someone like you have such a tragic end in your last life? This girl is quite emotional. I should have known not to tell her. It's all in the past after all. For me, it's all from my last life. Ooh, otherwise, how about I give Lu Xingxin to you? I was both amused and exasperated. Really? You're about to get married, and you're giving your husband to me. Does Lu Xingxin know about this? But every time I think of what happened to you in your last life, I feel terrible. Yeah, besides Lu Xingxin, I don't have anything better to give you. I was a little touched. For Huoxing, Lu Xingxin was as precious as her own eyeballs. When Huoxintan coveted him, she didn't hesitate for a second, even if it meant falling out with them. She would confront the Huo family head-on. Now she was actually saying she wanted to give him to me. All right, you keep Lu Xingxin for yourself and make good use of him. Don't think about silly things like that. Huoxing hugged me, sobbing. Never mind, I know you don't fancy him anyway. I originally wanted to give him to you so you could enjoy the blessings of having 2 men. What blessings of having 2 men? Aren't you dating Ji Qiye? I looked astonished. Then a look of guilt washed over my face. You. How did you know? I saw you 2 kissing in the car that day. I held my forehead, feeling a flush of shame. Huoxing's next words shattered my heart into smithereens. Auntie Ji saw it too. What? Driver Wu, Aunt Zhang, Driver Chen all saw it. Uncle Ji didn't see it, but Auntie Ji told him. I covered my face. What kind of mess is this? Why didn't you say so sooner? Auntie Ji said that maybe you 2 weren't quite ready to let others know you were dating, so she told us to go along with it and pretend we didn't know. Then, when you decide to tell us yourselves, we should act surprised. So everyone's been honing their acting skills lately, just in case when you announce your relationship, we don't act surprised enough, which would be really awkward. My scalp tingled. Stop, I'm already embarrassed now. Huoxing couldn't help but laugh again. Auntie Ji told all of us that when you 2 announce your relationship, we We need to show shock, then bewilderment, and then slowly transition to understanding and blessings. And we also need to try our best to be full of emotion and have sincere eyes. If everyone performs well, year-end bonuses will be doubled. Sister Zhang was even discussing with Uncle Wu yesterday whether they should team up and sign up for an acting class. Hua Xing's emotions came and went quickly. She was already in fits of laughter. Just as I was about to tell her to rein it in, her phone rang. After finishing the call, Hua Xing looked at me seriously. It's my mom. She asked me to ask if you could meet with her. After 2 lifetimes, I came to the Hua family again. Mrs. Hua's eyes were red and swollen, as if she had just cried. You. She carefully walked towards me, her gaze fixed on me the entire time. She seemed to want to take my hand. I took a step back, my tone distant and cold. Mrs. Hua, please just tell me what you have to say. I hope you won't try to reach me through Hua Xing again. This is the only time, and I will not meet with you privately again in the future. Mrs. Hua parted her lips, looking at me helplessly. Okay, Mom knows. Auntie knows. Yeah. Have you been well all these years? I nodded calmly. I'm doing very well in the Ji family. That's good. Mrs. Hua wiped her tears with her sleeve, forcing out a smile uglier than a cry. Her voice carried a hint of flattery and caution. Actually, it's nothing big. I just wanted to see you. Hua Xing said your life in the Ji family is very good. And Mrs. Ji loves you very much, treating you like her own daughter. You've always been so obedient and sensible. Knowing that she loves you so much, Mom is truly happy to hear it. I was gradually losing patience. You wanted to see me, and now you have. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. Yeah. Mrs. Hua hurriedly grabbed me, then dropped to her knees with a thud, tears instantly flowing like a river. Can you forgive Mom for what she did in her previous life? Mom knows she was wrong. Mom's intestines are all green with regret. Mom shouldn't have treated you like that. Mom harmed you, and also harmed both children. I regret it so much. Hua Xintan. We shouldn't have let Hua Xintan come back. In her last life, she harmed you, she harmed our whole family. And in this life, she killed Dad. Our family could have been so happy, so joyful, so incredibly blessed. It's all because of this beast. Why did she come back? She's ruined our family in 2 lifetimes. Yeah, my dear yeah. Thinking of you these past few days breaks my heart. Mom is kowtowing to you. Please forgive Mom, okay? Mom is begging you, forgive me. With that, Mrs. Hua began to kowtow repeatedly on the floor. I felt nothing, only a profound numbness. I told Hua Xing to help her up. Mrs. Hua, in your last life, you raised me for 12 years. I believe the lives of my son, my mother, and I can repay that kindness. Now, I have no connection with your Hua family. You really don't need to perform such a grand gesture to beg for my forgiveness. I cannot accept it. Mrs. Hua collapsed to the ground, wailing uncontrollably, heartbroken. I didn't want to stay any longer, and was about to leave when I saw Hua Xiao coming down the stairs. Hua Xing, help Mom to her room to rest for a bit. Seeing this, Hua Xing could only agree. Hua Xiao walked up to me, his lips mumbling for a long time. When did you come back? Does it concern you? I turned to leave, but he blocked my way at the door. Hua Xiao looked at me, his eyes deep, his expression pained and conflicted. Yeah. Reason tells me I shouldn't bother you. But I really miss you. Tell me, what should I do? You jerk. Acting like this is some idle drama. You should stay as far away from me as possible. Seeing you annoys me, disgusts me, makes me want to vomit. Don't you have any idea how I've treated you all these years? In my eyes, you're no different from a plague god. If it weren't for Hua Xing, I wouldn't want to say a single word to anyone in your family. From now on, when you see me, I'll give you 6 words. Shut your mouth, move your legs, and get far, far, far away from me. Hua Zhao's back visibly slumped, as if he had been struck down by something in an instant. He grabbed me, his body trembling uncontrollably, his voice broken and bitter. Yeah, really? Can't you give me even a tiny chance? I hadn't spoken yet. Hua Xing had already walked over. Brother, letting you go. With all the things you did in your last life, it's good enough that she didn't poison your whole family after her rebirth. Yeah, choosing not to dwell on it now is for her own sake. And besides, if she poisoned you, she'd go to jail. She's already with Jichie now. How can you ask her to give you a chance? Do you think you can compare to Jichie? Come on. As a brother, you barely get a 60 in my heart, but Jichie can get 200 points. Jichie is the most perfect brother in the world, no arguments. If it weren't for you in your previous life, to get revenge on Inue, forcing her to marry you, Yeye might have married Jichie later and lived a peaceful and happy life. You've already ruined Yeye's life once. Don't ruin it for her twice. Hua Xiao's face turned ashen, and he stumbled back several steps. His eyes were filled with desolation and lifelessness. Hua Xing was startled. I'm telling the truth. Even if you can't accept it, you have to try to accept it. I watched the person opposite react so strongly, and sneered. Hua Xiao, in my previous life, when I was in my final year of high school, I was kicked out of the Hua family by Hua Xintan. A few months later, you rushed back from England to take me back. Was it because you heard that the Ji family intended to take over from the Hua family in adopting me? The moment I graduated from university, you proposed to me. Was that also because you heard that Jichie was planning to marry me and help me leave the Hua family? And that's why you did it, right? Hua Xiao looked at me, his face ashen. How? How do you know? How despicable. I didn't spare him another glance and strode out of the Hua family home. Hua Xing silently walked beside me. After a long time, she asked me, were you and Jichie very close in your previous life? In high school, the Hua family originally planned to send me to study in the UK. After Hua Xintan returned, they no longer wanted to sponsor me. Jichie was studying in the UK at that time, and he specially came back to tell me he could pay for my tuition, but I didn't agree. Why? Perhaps I didn't want to owe such a huge favor to someone else. Are you silly? If you had agreed to him then, your fate would surely have changed later on. Yes, I was quite silly at that time. These two things, in fact, Jichie had told me not long ago. In my previous life, after Hua Xintan returned, she heard that my life at the Hua family was difficult. Jichie told Aunt Ji that he wanted to take me to live with them, but the Hua family refused. When I graduated from university, the Ji family once proposed a marriage alliance with the Hua family, but the Hua family also refused. From a business perspective, a marriage alliance with the Ji family would only bring benefits and no disadvantages to both families. As a businessman, Father Hua would absolutely not refuse. So the one who refused could only be Hua Xiao. After listening, Hua Xing's eyes began to redden again. So Jichie saved you so many times in your previous life, yet he still watched you marry someone else, and 3 years later received news of your death in a car accident. Is that right? How sad he must have been, when you two were so close to being together. I'm crying my eyes out. I never thought Jichie was such a pure love warrior. No wonder you didn't think much of Lu Hangsen. What does this have to do with Lu Hangsen? Back at the Ji family home, seeing Hua Xing frequently glance at him, Jichie finally sensed something was amiss. Why do you keep looking at me? Nothing, I just think you're so handsome. Are you crazy? Hua Xing. Ji Qiyuan remembered something and took out his wallet. Tell me, how much do you want? Hua Xing once again. Never mind, pretend I didn't say anything. Hua Xing stood up and went outside to call Lu Xingsen. Ji Qiyuan pouted to me. Baby, how about we go out to see a movie tonight? I've already thought about it. In a bit, I'll ring your phone, and you can pretend you forgot a document at the company that you need for a client tomorrow. So you have to go back and get it today. After you leave, I'll text Liang Zhou and have him call me. How about we meet outside the community? I looked at this landlord's silly son. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Why are you looking at me like that? Isn't this a good idea? Ji Qiyuan, I need to tell you something. What is it? Seeing that the living room was empty, Ji Qiyuan secretly leaned over and habitually cupped my cheeks. Where did you go tonight? You didn't reply to my messages and you didn't answer my calls. Nowhere. Good girl, can I give you a kiss? I've been looking for you all night. After saying that, Ji Qiyuan kissed me on the cheek with lightning speed. Seeing my blank expression, he chuckled. Why are you looking at me like that? Baby, you're so cute, another kiss. He leaned closer to me again. This time, he directly pried open my lips and tongue, conquering all territory. It was clear he was going for a French kiss. I hastily pushed him away. Entier. Now it was Ji Chiyuan who was bewildered. He looked sideways and immediately saw Aunt Ji and Sister Zhang opposite us. Aunt Ji's eyes widened, and she covered her mouth. Although her acting looked very awkward, she still dutifully performed how astonished and shocked she was at that moment. Oh my you! What are you two doing? Seeing Aunt Ji's reaction, Sister Zhang immediately got into character. First, she took a few steps back, her eyes wider than brass bells. Then she put on a look of collapse. Oh my God! Oh my God! What did I see? Young Master Chiyuan, yeah, you two are? Honestly, I was so embarrassed my toes were practically curling into a castle. Ji Chiya bit the bullet and explained. Mom, don't be so surprised yet. Yaya and I are already together. Auntie Ji slowly reined in her exaggerated expression, transitioning into a slight surprise. What? You two are together? Oh then why didn't you say something sooner? Auntie Zhang also followed suit, patting her chest in lingering fear. Ah, so you two were dating, no wonder. You scared me to death, Yeah. He felt something was off, but couldn't quite pinpoint what. I really wanted to ask Auntie Zhang. Where did she learn such dramatic acting? After going public with our relationship, Ji Chiya decided to move out with me. The Ji family owned a piece of land in Dongcheng. Bought years ago, it had a lake and mountains. 3 years ago, Ji Chiya hired a construction team and started building a house. Now the villa was almost finished with its decorations. Ji Chiya said this would be our future marital home. Are you proposing to me? I've waited for you for 2 lifetimes. I feel like I'm getting old, so we need to get married quickly and enjoy our life as a couple as soon as possible. Ha! How can this person be so thick-skinned? Not long after, Hua Xing told me something. Hua Xintan was stabbed in the stomach and lost a kidney. The person who stabbed her was the same scrawny punk who had previously tried to assault Hua Xing. It turned out that after the scrawny punk was caught, the Ji family's lawyer pressed charges. The first trial sentenced him to 3 years. The scrawny punk was furious. He had been to prison twice, both because of Hua Xintan. He felt she was deliberately trying to mess with him, so he found someone to stab Hua Xintan. Starting over, Hua Xintan's fate seemed no different from her previous life. Only this time, her mother and Hua Xiao had completely abandoned her, leaving her to fend for herself. 3 years later, Hua Xing was finally nearing graduation. As graduation approached, she had more free time and came to our house every weekend. Little Xian, little Chen, Auntie is here to see you again. I found it strange. Didn't you say yesterday you were their paternal aunt? Is there? Nonsense, of course there is. You're a doctor, for crying out loud. Can't you be a bit more rigorous? One day you call yourself Gugu, the next day Yi. What's the big deal? I want to be both Xian and Chen's Gugu and their Yi. Is that not allowed? Unbelievable. In the afternoon, I took the twins back to residence number 1. The 2 little ones were only 6 months old and were overjoyed to see their grandma. Then, my mom and Aunt Zhang took the 2 little ones out for a stroll and came back. Not long after they returned, Aunt Zhang frantically called out to me. Yeah, quickly look, what is this? I walked closer and found a walnut box on the coffee table. Inside the box, many gold bars were neatly arranged. I counted them, there were 40 of them. Aunt Zhang, where did these come from? I asked, furrowing my brow. It was Mrs. Hua from Building 26 who gave them. Wasn't I just out strolling with Madam, pushing the babies? Mrs. Hua saw Xian and Chen and asked Madam if they were her children. Madam said yes. Then Mrs. Hua suddenly became very strange, hugging Xian and Chen, kissing them again and again, and her tears flowed like a torrent. She cried so sadly that it completely baffled both Madam and me. Later, when we were about to leave, Mrs. Hua said she wanted to give the 2 children a first meeting gift. Madam told her not to, but she insisted on giving it. With that attitude, we couldn't leave without accepting. Then she went home and brought this peachwood box. I felt something was off at the time because it was too heavy, so I put it on the stroller. Just now, when I took it off the stroller and looked, I realized it was gold bars. What should we do? Yeah, could Mrs. Hua have taken the wrong box? Should we send it back to her? If so many gold bars go missing, won't she call the police? Aunt Zhang was an honest person, and she was already starting to get anxious. Such valuable items, it was impossible for Mrs. Hua to have taken the wrong ones. I thought for a moment. No need. She said these were gifts for the babies, so let's keep them. A commotion came from outside the yard. I looked up. A black G-Wagon smoothly drove into the garage. I teased the two little babies. Little Xianxian, little Chunchun, Daddy's home. Let's go, let's find Daddy.